Welcome one and all to the final show of the year here on Midnight's Edge After Dark. That's right. It's time for the new year.
Happy New Year!
Yes, indeed. That's right. We're just a couple days away, but welcome to the program. I am Tom Connors, of course. With me, I have a panel of illustrious gentlemen, I should say. Is that a word?
Yeah. I think it might be a word.
Yes.
Sort of.
To be illustrated, it means. We have, speaking of illustrated, clobbering times.
Somebody happy New Year. I mean, Happy New Year.
Always rock
That was
hard.
good, Clobby.
That's what I meant.
In more ways than one.
That's right. Also with us, speaking of more than one, we have 32 flavors of Nick Weiser here. How you doing?
I'm good, man. Been staying
All
busy
32 of them are here? Wow.
All 32. Maybe there's even a 33rd finally on the way coming. So we'll see if that one chooses to do that. But happy to be here. I haven't been on a meet in a few weeks. I can't believe it's already been too long. So I missed you, chat. I'm glad to be here. Yeah, it's the end of the year. So let's talk about what was good and what was absolutely not good.
Yeah, we may get into some of that. We'll see what the chat wants to talk about. We're going to talk about some of the upcoming features for next year. But other than that, there's not a whole lot of news to dive into that we haven't already discussed in various other outlets. But we have with us a reason to stream because Price of Reason is here.
Hey, how's it going?
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. That was a great intro.
I do my best. I'm kind of good at segues sometimes. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
And we also have from the Great White North, Mr. CC Karaoke. Coming in via satellite.
I saw Godzilla on Tuesday, and it was fantastic. Yeah,
Finally.
It is.
that was.
It's
Yeah,
about
I'm
time.
really glad I went to see it.
I don't
And
know.
my
They said
sister
he's
was like,
gotta go.
she never would have seen it without my recommendation. She's like, "Oh, thanks for taking me." And
Oh
we
no,
all
they say
loved
he's got to go see Godzilla. So, what do you think? You loved it?
Oh,
you could tell watching it how much fun they were having. It was like the passion was bleeding through on the screen in every scene, and I mean, $9 million kind of puts Hollywood to shame. You can see in parts where they cut the budget. They use small sets, small isolated sets, but that was fine. The movie didn't need to be bigger than that. And models, practical effects, I mean, the city scenes were something else. And the theater was almost full. The only empty seats were those front rows in front of the walkway to come in. And it was in the VIP theater too. And I wasn't expecting that because obviously I got to it a little bit late, but they still had it in the nicest theater, So clearly it's a success.
VIP theater in Canada means they have the nice donuts, the glazed ones, right?
Wow, yeah, we had those leather seats and they recline like electric reclining, and they had seat warmers. and
They got the
person
craft
who
beer,
comes in and takes your order from a menu, and yeah. So that was all pretty nice.
Nice. Well, glad you enjoyed it. And let's say hello to our chat. We have Humdinger here. We have Davina Duckworth. Ezilla's here. Speaking of Godzilla, says Godzilla is so freaking good. Yes, it is. We got D-Bud in the house. Toxic Dust is here. Aaron Ratliff's here. Mars Monkey Max is here. We've got Avengers Rising. Dark Gift Comics is in the house. How you doing, freaking Anthony? We've got, let's see here. Duck Vader is here. Chris is here. Welcome to the show. We got fresh snow, which I have outside right now. Fresh snow today. That reminds me I should have shoveled my sidewalk. Sorry, I had to sneeze.
hey, it happens.
I should have just done it, and then y'all would know like why he went quiet. We got Alabama Wyatt, Cynical here. Lombardi 1969 is here. Griffin Turbo is here. So many more. Hit that like button. Share out the link. Let everybody know we're live. I know you have a lot of choices, but we're so glad to see you here on Midnight's Edge After Dark, hanging out with us here. I see Grand Admiral Adam coming in there. Thank you for being here, buddy. We also have Action Com here. Time codes are ready, he says. Excellent. Tiger Valley 62 is here as well. Welcome everybody. Hit the like button. Yeah, so I guess before we break into the upcoming stuff, like Nick said, let's go over what you guys felt was probably the stuff that you saw this year was the best. Let's start with you, Price. What did you think was probably the best couple movies you saw this year?
I mean, it's kind of a toss-up because on one hand, I think that Oppenheimer is probably, in a way, the best movie I've seen. But as far as how much I enjoyed the movie, I think that I liked Godzilla -1 just a little more.
Yeah, I can see that. Both of those are in my top 5 for sure. Anything else stick out to you as
I liked Mission Impossible. I thought that was a good movie. It's not as good as the other two, but I mean, I still enjoyed it as a popcorn movie. It was very well made. Those probably, I'm trying to think if there's other movies that would be in my top 3, and I'm not even sure.
Fair enough. CC, now that you've seen Godzilla, what would you say is some of the best films you saw this year?
Well, I'll mention 3 things. Obviously, Godzilla. I also watched Reacher with my dad over Christmas, and we both enjoyed that thoroughly. It was just a lot of fun, you know. It's as my
First season,
easy to watch, but in a good way. Yeah, well, we had time for just
second season's not finished yet, so
yeah. And I think the third thing I would mention, because it finished this year, and I really enjoyed it, was Attack on Titan. Now, it's an anime; it's not a movie, but that's a show that, you know what, when I started it, and it started 10 years ago, so it's kind of this year, but it's kind of also, you know, years ago. It's been airing for a long time. It did not make a good first impression on me. I'll be honest. It kind of like, I was like, oh yeah, it's fine, it's okay. But it just kept getting better and better and better. And by the time I got to what they've been airing recently, you could tell the budget and the popularity of it. They just went balls to the wall, you know. So yeah, special mention to that, because that's been going for a very long time, and it saw its just conclusion this year.
I like here you have to throw in the accept reference, even if it was unintentional. Don't think I didn't catch that, CC.
Well, Nick, go ahead and tell us what you enjoyed most this year.
Unfortunately, I didn't catch as much as I wanted to. I plan on finally catching Reacher season 2, at least what's available of it right now in the next few days. But obviously, I was absolutely over the moon about the One Piece Netflix adaptation, shockingly, and I actually enjoyed Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part 1. I'm somewhere in the between that Fallout Rogue Nation. I think it's better than Rogue Nation, but not as good as Fallout. So I'm in the middle, but of course I enjoyed Super Mario. I thought that was a lot of fun. Brought the kids. We had a great time. Godzilla -1 though. I mean, whoo, man, I cannot believe not only how much I love that flick, but it was a few weeks ago. I think it was here on MEAD, where I was talking about how I was so sick of human stories. You want to talk about a movie that succeeded in making me eat my own damn words? That movie did, and I got to give it to them. They succeeded, and I'm really happy about that. So I like when I can be proven wrong about something, and Japan did it, man, and shout out to them for doing it, because Godzilla -1 was a kick-ass movie. So there were some good highlights. Once again, I didn't catch everything I wanted to, and there's still some things I'm trying to catch up on, but those are a few of the things I caught that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the human stories in a lot of Godzilla films, but 9 times out of 10, the big difference between this film and even the American and classic films is that you're more concentrated on one main character and his surrounding, you know, world. You're not like spread out over like 3-4 characters. Your main character doesn't get killed 30 minutes in, and then you got to follow his stupid kid.
It helps. No, Tom, I'm glad you mentioned that, because here's what helps. Godzilla to me works best when he's as evil as they come, because Godzilla is big and frightening. In order to really make his character work, you want to make him terrifying, and giving him humans to root for made you hate him that much more because of how likable the humans are. Because when the humans become so unlikable, you end up rooting for the monster, the killer. It's kind of like what we see in like the later Halloween movies, where the humans get so unlikable that you end up rooting for Myers to kill them because the humans are so unlikable. It's amazing how much of a difference good human characters can be when you like them versus when you don't. You end up actually rooting for them over the monster or the killer per se. It's amazing. And once again, respect to them for making me change my mind on humans in a Godzilla movie.
Oh, we have another human joining us right now, Mr. Script Doctor, fellow Canadian.
How's it going, everybody?
Script. Love your videos, by the way, dude. I've been watching all of them and enjoying them.
Oh,
So how's the Zack Snyder crowd reacting to your recent?
only one is upset.
Oh, fuck.
Like, the funny thing is that I had no idea where I was going to be during the holidays, so I made both those videos like a week Thursday, and then just scheduled them, and then I forgot about them until just recently when my phone started blowing up a little. But yeah, it was fun to do.
But welcome. We're actually talking about what we thought was our favorite films, and we've thrown a few shows in there too this year so far. We were just left off on Nick, and it was Clobby's turn. So Clobby, what did you find?
Are you hearing? What's that noise? I can't hear anything.
There was just like a mic noise, but like you were like
now?
fumbling with your mic or something. Not now. You're fine now. But
Didn't hear it. I wasn't touching it.
Yeah.
Sorry though. I don't know.
no, that's cool.
Mystified. So I don't know. Yeah. What a non-year for anything, at least for me. When you're an old fogey that hates everything, I guess Godzilla was the thing as far as in the cinema that I loved the most. It's not even close. It's really the only thing that I truly just really, really loved a lot. Although I really respected it and enjoyed, a strange word for it, but really, really liked and admired Sound of Freedom, of course, for a lot of reasons. That was a big one as well. But what the other movies I saw were all garbagey superhero movies because of the other ones I go review, right? And I think I saw what was it, the Equalizer 3 and Equalizer 3. I didn't really. That was just sort of okay. So One Piece, however, although I know it's not in the theaters, that, like Nick had mentioned, I really enjoyed the hell out of that. But
oh yeah,
as far as getting the enjoyment out of something, what's that?
It got me reading the manga. I'm now 5
There you
volumes
go.
into the manga.
As far as just enjoying something new that came out, really enjoying it and a lot. Again, it's Godzilla and and One Piece. But on Godzilla, like you said, Nick, I think you did it pretty well. I guess I have to eat a lot of words on that too, because I've always made fun of the human stuff in Godzilla movies and saying, look, I don't want any boring humans. I want to see monsters. The humans are almost always, if not always, boring and useless. But in this case, no, it was a brilliant human story, as much a human story as anything else, if not more so. So I loved it. And other than that, though, still having problems with the mic? I'll mute it then.
We can hear you. I think you're coming maybe through the wrong mic. Check your mic setting. That might have been what it was.
Setting?
Yeah, because you sound like you're a mile away.
Well,
not quite a mile away, about a quarter mile away.
So
check and make sure it's coming through your right mic. Yeah, go to your settings, little sprocket. Okay, yeah, well, maybe it's right.
Background noise, I can press that button.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. It's really weird, though. It doesn't sound as good as it normally does. You sound all right, but I don't know. Maybe it was just the room or where you have the mic position.
Audio.
I don't know. But it's kind of cutting out wonky. Like, do you have like a laptop mic or something like that?
No. I don't know. I'm the same mic I've always had. Was doing this last night when I was on?
No, it's really weird. It sounds like it's like really far away. It's really
maybe
weird.
It's backwards. Could it be backwards?
Turn it around. Maybe that could be it.
Well, you mean
there we go. Now you're sounding better.
Oh yeah,
I'm facing it. If that's what
now
you mean.
sounding, whatever you did, it fixed it.
I did nothing.
You sound great.
Yeah. Okay.
I touched the bottom of it and started to adjust it, but then I realized with my eyesight, well, it's not backwards; it's facing me. So I did nothing.
So yeah, maybe
that.
you were just that far away or something. You sound fine now. You sound brilliant now. So whatever you did to move it.
We like it. We like it when you move it.
It could be a screwed up. This mic, who knows? It's probably messed up like me. Sorry about that.
Maybe?
I'll mute it.
No worries, brother. I just was trying to figure
Okay,
out
well,
what's going
no, I
on.
appreciate it. Like I say, I know I'm gonna have to take a look at it later. Thank you, though.
But we
But
have
yes, movies suck. Let's face it, movies suck. Everybody.
we have another gentleman joining us as well right now. We have Scribe Light.
Hi, everybody.
Hey,
How you doing?
Crowded house here.
A little bit, but we're just talking. We don't have a ton of news. We're actually just talking about what our favorite films and shows of 2023 were. We just left off on Script Doctor. So yeah, what did you find most intriguing this year?
Golly gee whiz. Well, I think I mentioned my favorite movie so far of the year because I don't get to the theater that much. It's probably The Killer with Michael Fassbender over on Netflix. As far as shows, was Terminalist this year or was that last year?
Last year.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. Things are. Yeah. Well. Okay.
Yeah, it was last year. Yeah, you might be mistaking it for Reacher because they both have alpha male leads.
No, I don't mistake Reacher for Terminalist. But I'll tell you,
Okay,
Reacher season 2 is off to a good start. It's good stuff.
That's what I hear. I can't wait to start it.
I also want to give a shout out
it is
to
good.
Bosch Legacy season 2. Ever since Bosch moved over from Amazon Prime to Freevee, it's been a little bit of a change, but I really like watching Titus Welliver and that show. So if you guys like it's not the same as the original Bosch series. It's changed a bit, but I still enjoy watching that show quite a bit. Otherwise, I've been caught up in a whole bunch of K-dramas and things that didn't come out this year. But
is it true that guy collects action figures?
Ooh, Titus Welliver?
That plays Bosch, yes. I've heard that.
I would not be surprised.
about
I
it.
couldn't say. Yeah.
He seems like a cool guy. A few times I actually wrote something about Bosch or a review. I don't remember what it was. And I think that he either liked my posts or he maybe even responded or something. I can't remember now.
Yeah.
He seems like a nice guy, though.
I've at least had one tweet or something where he replied or retweeted it or something. And I've seen a couple of interviews with him. He seems like a really down-to-earth guy. But yeah, he seems pretty cool.
Nice.
And he's been all over the place. He was on Deadwood. He was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, he's been all over.
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy. That's right.
It's interesting what Amazon did with that show because and this is again just from the knowledge that I have outside of what we do here. I suspect that what they did was they wanted to stop paying people so much money, so they did what Paramount is going to do with Yellowstone. They decided that it's going to be called Bosch Legacy, and basically a few people from the original show continue, whereas they unloaded a lot of other contracts, and maybe it was a way to renegotiate too.
Well, I assume that that they cut down on the cast from the original ensemble because there were some heavy hitters in that cast like Lance Hendrick or not
who passed away.
Who passed away, and a whole bunch of other people, but also because Freevee is ad based. So they probably could supplement the cost of that a bit in the production with the ad structure because that was a pretty classy setup. And then the stories take. I mean, not to get too in the weeds on it, but I still like the show. It's not quite as hard boiled cop as it was in the first series, the original series, but it's all right.
It's all right. I think that's a good way to describe it. If you enjoyed the original series, which I did, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, there's a lot of character arcs and story threads that find their way into the second series if you were paying attention to the first one. So that's kind of rewarding for those that have stuck around.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Script, what did you enjoy most this year?
I really liked Tetris. I thought that was one of the highlight films of the year. I also enjoyed The Family Plan.
I still need to watch that. Your review sold me on that.
Yeah, check it out because it's a lot of fun. For TV, for this year, I really liked the Frasier revival. I thought that was pretty good. It was closer to what you'd expect a Frasier show to be. It still held on to that essence of Frasier. It does have its flaws, but I'd say it's a better step in direction for television than what we've got compared to, say, the terrible Night Court revival and Quantum Leap there. I really enjoyed season 2 of Heels and season 3 of Only Murders in the Buildings. I thought those were some good good shows. Only Murders is the only one that's coming back next year. Heels got canceled because it's on Stars, and Stars is a streaming service that they don't even want to promote anymore. So, yeah. So that's those are those are the things that stood out for me that I quite enjoy, that I still remember to this day, even though I've seen a whole bunch of other things. I haven't seen Godzilla -1 yet. I want to.
Wow.
But yeah, those are the ones.
Oh, I forgot to bring up. Sorry, two things. I had to remind myself because again, I forget when things come out. Fall the House of Usher, I liked a lot.
I heard about that being good.
That's a special, yeah. The
Yeah.
Netflix special.
Yeah, there was a little bit of undercurrent of the message in some places, but otherwise it was. I really enjoy. What's the guy? I forget his name. The guy who runs that
Bruce
stuff.
Greenwood, and who's the lead actor, but the guy who wrote it, I keep forgetting his name, but he does tons of horror allegories.
Yeah,
to
he did.
Cosmic Works.
Yeah, he did Midnight Mass and Gerald's Game, which I mean, and he also like carries along his same sort of stable of actors for the most part as he goes from production to production.
Yeah.
So I like him stuff. And the other one was I'm just getting into it now. But it's called. Yeah, I'm still up in the air, but it's called The Diplomat. It's Kerry Russell, and it's this very sort of tightly written political thriller. The only thing,
Kerry Russell.
well, yeah, and there's a moment or two of Kerry Russell they're really worth watching. The only thing that kind of gets me about it is it seems to be the epitome of the Gina Davis Institute of Statistics for television production. Because the way that the female characters operate in the show, and I this is the thing that really ticks me off. I've been so conditioned to have my ears pricked up for too much of the message or something that sometimes I watch something and I go, okay, am I just being oversensitive to something, or is this really just so ingrained that it sets off my radar? But every female character in the show is in a position of authority. They're all written as though they were male characters in any other story. All the men in the show are either beta jellyfish or
like her husband.
passive. Like her husband. Well, husband is more of like a lovable asshole more than anything else.
But she's the boss, and he's just kind of in her way, and he's always annoying her. I tried not to cut you off, but I just have to say my thoughts here. I tried watching that show. I don't dislike Kerry Russell. It seemed in the first episode or two that they were going in an interesting direction, but then I watched another episode or so, and then I just gave up on it. Something about it felt too much like they're either trying to cater to women and not to men. I couldn't really explain it, but I felt like it was a point of the series that they were basically telling me that they didn't want my viewership anymore, so I left.
There is that sense to it in that this is a show for girl boss. This is a girl boss show.
It's okay if you like it, though. I mean, I'm not trying to ruin it for you.
Oh no. I mean,
if you're into that sort of thing, that's perfectly fine.
Well, I'm more attracted to the political swordsmanship taking place in the plot. That's keeping me invested more so than how they're dealing with gender roles or anything else, because I'm a big fan of Tom Clancy novels, and there's a lot of that sort of political chicanery taking place in the course of this thing.
That's why I started watching it, and then I didn't stop immediately because it wasn't complete crap, but somehow it's what you were saying. It kind of creeps up on you, this kind of weird thing that they're doing there, and it was a turnoff for me. But
what it feels like. Yeah, what it feels like to me is you got a really, really tightly written script around a political crisis and really, really interesting personalities interacting, but it has been put through, and I don't have another phrase for it because I did a video on this years ago where the Gina Davis Institute was starting to do metrics on how much screen time does a woman have on a show, how many lines do they have compared to men, trying to even these things out or make them worse, this, that, and the other. It feels like it was something that was written for different characters. They then put through this filtering process, and this is the result you get. It keeps feeling like there's a lot of gender switches in the characters' attitudes and roles in there. But anyway, it's an interesting show, but I can't tell if it's just like an artifact of the message at its finest, in the sense that you have it ingrained into what is, as far as I can tell, a fairly well-written show. that might be like the worst of both worlds. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, me personally, I mean, it's no surprise. I mean, I've been saying it for a while. Tetris, like Script Doctor said, is probably one of my favorites still of the year, if not my favorite. Godzilla -1, right next to it, if not right after it. I did enjoy Oppenheimer quite a bit. I did enjoy Megan a heck of a lot more earlier this year than I thought I would. We've had a lot of great films this year. It wasn't a bad year for movies, so I don't think we can complain too much about that. While at the same time, we had some important flops. So that was the other thing is my favorite movies of this year were movies like Indiana Jones and
Yeah.
Snow White, movies that didn't even
Ugh.
movies that made me a lot of money. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow.
You know, cases like with Flash, we probably made more money than the Flash actually did, if you think about it, and Little Mermaid for that matter, and Indiana Jones, and all those other ones. But you know, it's just one of those crappy years when it comes to the for the studios, but a good year for us YouTubers. But we did get some smaller films like Air and even Gran Turismo, even though it didn't do very well at the box office. I think got a lot of praise. And then another one I saw earlier in the year that I found people finally discovering later on was Renfield. which I was-
Yo, dude, I enjoyed Renfield. It sucks that
Yeah.
it didn't do well because I really enjoyed
Yeah.
Renfield. That's another one I forgot to mention. Damn, I feel bad. It's amazing how much you forget about because the year was so long. Damn.
I had mixed feelings regarding Renfield. I enjoyed seeing Nicolas Cage, and there were some parts of it that I liked, but there were also some things there that were kind of didn't sit well with me.
Is one of them called Aquafina?
Yes, yes, I think that probably
she was
was
like the biggest
know,
problem in the movie
all right,
with me,
was
and I
she
didn't
in
really
that?
bother. She
Right.
didn't bother me all that much.
Price of Reason. I'm gonna say this.
She's not that
I
obnoxious in
don't-
it, really.
I don't disagree with you, and here's why I don't. Okay, I really enjoy the movie a lot. However, the one thing that annoyed me about the movie was her. Sadly, and this is not a low bar to settle for, because as Script has said, you should never want to measure for lowest. You should always aim highest. Sadly, this is her most tolerable performance compared to everything else I've seen her in. So it's a low bar for her, but this is the best thing that she's been in. The thing
That's
she's really
fair.
annoying. And if this is your gateway to her, well, don't go beyond anything else with her. We'll just leave it at that. Not go any further.
Yeah, I mean, you can't even really say that she's an overly woke character because her character
She's
fucks up
not-
constantly and
She's
stuff.
not
So
woke
like,
at all. She's
yeah,
just
so like they do handle and
really
they,
unlikable.
she is unlikable, but she's not overly obnoxious in the film, right? Like, I mean, you follow her character, you do understand where she's coming from. I wasn't bothered by her at all. I thought she was okay, but I think that comes from the direction, the great, you know, that nice tight script. I mean, this is the movie. Renfield was the movie that Cocaine Bear and some of the other shit should have been this year, where it's like you have this idea, run with it. Right.
Yeah.
Renfield was the one that actually ran with it. Like, it's like they just went all out. They let Nicolas Cage do Nicolas Cage things.
As he should. Nicolas Cage
As he
should
should,
always be
yes.
Nicolas Cage in every movie.
This is the only time though where I said I really felt like they didn't need to go full blown R-rated for the theatrical cut, and I think that's where they cut some of their audience off. I could be wrong, but it's one of the few times I'll say, yeah, you could have probably trimmed it down just to a PG-13 for theatrical and done an unrated, because they did it for Megan. I mean, like, really, I don't see, because the only reason this movie's rated R is just because of the excessive gore, right? So I don't remember a whole lot of swearing or any nudity. It's been a few months since I've seen it, but yeah, I mean, Cocaine Bear though is an idea that sounds funny on paper, but the way they executed it was piss poor.
Yeah, it was
mean, it
this
was-
generation snake on a plane, which I
Yeah.
predicted.
No, you're totally right, Script, and I don't know if I ever disagreed with you or not, but I do agree with you on that part, because from the start I was disappointed with that one. I'm like, this could have been something better had they done.
No, we were
Another
all
rewrite.
hoping that I was wrong, but we all suspected I was
Right.
right. And I was
Yeah,
hoping I was
basically.
wrong.
Well, that's probably a good way to put it, but it's like, yeah, you know, like you sit down and you've got this concept, right?
Yep.
Run with it. What the fuck? The whole movie should have been that ambulance scene. That was the problem. The movie didn't know
Yeah.
what it wanted to be half the
That was
time.
great.
And the ambulance scene was the one time they got the tone right. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, you've got a mix here between horror and comedy. Run with that for an hour and a half. You've got a good concept here. Why did you make it this meandering father-son story, and then it gets depressing because you find out, first you think that the Han Solo kid, Alden Ehrenreich or whatever fuck his name is, you
Mhm.
find out he's a single father and all that shit. You think his wife just pieced out on him. No, she died. But it's like so depressing, and it's also depressing because it's fucking Ray Liotta, one of his last roles, and he's probably the best part of the movie besides the bear.
He's the
And that's
best part of
saying
the
something.
movie, and they don't even use him well because
He's
as
not
I
even in
mentioned
the same
before,
movie. I think you said that script
he's not in
originally.
the same movie. That movie should have had the ending that everybody would be talking about for years, which is Ray Liotta hooked up on cocaine with a shovel, fighting that bear over the
Yeah.
last few bricks. And the fact that, I mean, it feels like it's an obvious idea, but it's one that you don't really think of at first, but realize I would always remember that. You have like a Kirk versus Spock moment, but it's a bear and Ray Liotta just circling each other, fighting over cocaine. People are going to talk about
Yeah.
that for a very long time afterwards. They didn't do anything. They never thought about
Yeah.
how could this be so crazy that we can have people talk about this years after. It's basically the same mistake that happened with the Thanksgiving movie that Eli Roth did. His
Mm.
trailer was talked about for years. Nobody's talking about Thanksgiving anymore now that it's come and gone because he didn't do anything in that movie that was so outrageous that the initial trailer got people talking about back then. He chickened out, and that's the other part too. I hate it when people come up with these great concepts and then they chicken out on the execution because they just are not thinking about the idea itself.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
blame Elizabeth Banks.
Oh yeah, I totally do too. And I kind of believe her when she said she's never done drugs before. At least she doesn't do them enough or whatever to because you don't understand them clearly from what you did in this movie. And you could have had a hell of a time with this. Like there should have been like a Cheech and Chong cameo in this bitch. You should have had this. This should have been what Snakes on a Plane promised to be, like Scripps said years ago. And that was this balls to the wall, funny, basically like full moon feature, but you got money to make the movie. You know what I mean? Like for those who don't know what full moon is, they're straight to video stuff Charlie Band did, but and they don't take themselves so seriously. You got like Ginger Dead Man and shit like that. You know what I mean?
you know what I wish this had been? I wish this had been a stealth sequel to Goodfellas. Like Ray Liotta's playing that character
He
years
thinks
later.
he's still that character. That's the problem.
I watched it in the theater with my sister, and yeah, the ambulance thing was the absolute spike of the entire movie. And then you had them half the time like wandering through the woods or going to this place or all these little subplots that didn't mean anything. And I was bored. I'm like, how can I be sitting in a film called Cocaine Bear and be bored for 75% of my time here? That was a disappointing.
Well, and I think Script and I had talked about this back when. It's like, first of all, you've got Ray Liotta, who's supposed to be this drug cartel guy. Why isn't he sending out like a whole shit ton of guys looking for his fucking stuff? And there you go. There's a bunch of guys that are basically being sent in as food for this bear, right?
And then
like right there's good 30 minutes of the movie for you.
Right.
It's
and
like
then
come up with fun gimmicks that the bear takes them out in unique ways, like that ambulance scene or something else. But
yeah, those
sorry,
kind
go
of
ahead.
scenes. Exactly. Yeah.
And when Ray Liotta finally shows up, they don't even know what to do with him then. Like you guys said, it's just such a lackluster way to end the movie and his career in a way.
Well, and he sends his son and his son's friend or whatever to go. It's like, what? You're supposed to be this big drug cartel guy. And first of all, you're griping because you're stuck watching your grandson and raising him. Like, that's the part that really bothered me about the movie. You got this stupid family drama bullshit going on in the background, right? If anything should have been drama, it should have been like, like maybe something to do with the park ranger people, because those were the funnier characters in the movie anyway, right? Like they're trying to save the park or something's going on that somebody's trying to shut down the park for whatever reason. Who cares? Yeah, it's based on a true story, but they are so far from the fucking truth that at this point you can do whatever the fuck you want. It should have been Jaws on fucking cocaine on land. How hard is that to make? Right? Like the last third of this movie should have been, like you said, on one end you have Ray Liotta and his guys, on the other end you have the park rangers trying to fight this bear at the same time. And then, yeah, you find out he's got babies and shit like that. That part, it didn't bother me. But it's like, the whole movie
Right.
was just kind of a waste of fucking time at the end of the day when the way they hyped it up.
Robert Rodriguez should have directed this.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
imagine Robert Rodriguez with this? I mean, I keep going
Yes.
back like this is. I just thought, okay, this is Elizabeth Banks' redemption arc in Hollywood as she gets handed Cocaine Bear, and that's all we get. I mean, I guess it was better than Charlie's Angels.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
movie is better than that.
It's
Yeah.
a low bar.
That's a low bar indeed. So yeah, so that being said, let's see what you guys are saying out in the chat because we've collected a few super chats here. Jason Webster sent in an Australian $5. Says my choices were best films of 2023. 5, a tie for Sound of Freedom, Past Lives. 4, Smugglers. 3, Next Sohi. Sorry. 2, Monster, and 1, Godzilla -1. Well, there you go. And then Jason Webster also has a few honorable mentions for $5 and says Oppenheimer, The Boy and the Heron, Evil Does Not Exist, Poor Things, Ballerina, Unlocked, Kill Boksoon, and John Wick Chapter 4. Yeah, you're into your Korean cinema. Yeah. Action Com says, when we go through the 2024 list, I want to hear predictions of the movie will fly or crash. Well, we're about to do that in just a few moments here as soon as we get done with these super chats, Action Com. So get your whatever you do to mark down the times ready. Tommy Reviews sends in $5 and says, worst show movie I've watched was Monarch, Legacy of Monsters. What a bore fest that is. Also, Nick, I loved your review of Duke issue 1 and Energonverse is fire.
Energonverse. Hey,
And
thanks
that's
for
why you're
watching
here.
Tommy Reviews. I do appreciate you watching. Yeah, I was surprised by how much I enjoyed the comic, and yeah, it's good to have a G.I. Joe story to get excited about along with Transformers. So yeah, hopefully the rest of the
Oh, so this is like
miniseries
Duke from G.I. Joe.
Yep, he has his own miniseries that started yesterday, and is the first issue of it.
Is he a real American hero?
It seems like there's a big man on the run government conspiracy he's caught in the mix of. And from what I gather, there's a lot of action, and he's got
Will he fight for freedom wherever there's trouble?
I hope. We'll find out. I mean, hey, if he's a man on the run, he's got to fight for his own individual freedom first. So we'll see where it goes, though. But I really enjoyed it. But Tommy Reviews, thanks for watching it, man. I appreciate that.
Awesome. And then Mihan is here. How you doing? Haven't seen you in a bit. Sends in 50, I think that's Swedish krona. Number 1, Monster. What was Monster? What was that one? Why am I drawing a blank on Monster? I can only think of the Charlize Theron movie. Let me look this up here because for some reason I don't know why.
Sounds familiar, but
At the Japanese.
oh, it's must a Korean film or
Yeah.
something. Yeah. Okay.
the Korean film. Yeah.
okay.
Japanese,
Okay.
I think.
Japanese, Korean, something.
It's a drama. Single mother demands answers from a school teacher when her son begins acting strangely. A fight at school causes even more trouble. And here I thought it might have rubber monsters in it. Damn it.
Ah, shucks.
If it ain't got rubber monsters or karate in it, I ain't interested. Number 2, Tetris. This is also my pick for probably number 1 this year. Number 3, Past Lives. Gorgira -1. Oppenheimer. John Wick 4. Scaper. Number 8, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yeah, I enjoyed that one quite a bit.
Yeah.
Oh
I
my
like
God,
that.
you actually liked Scream 6? Ouch.
No, it's number 9.
And Sister Death. Oh man, I could not get I fast forwarded through most of that movie because it was so bad. At least it wasn't as bad as the last one.
I didn't even see the 6th one.
The 5th one, you mean?
The 5th was not good.
This is the 6th one here in New York.
5th was
Yeah,
not good, but 6. I didn't see 6.
it carries on a lot of the same bullshit, though. That's the problem.
I forgot about Guardians 3. I did sort of like that one. That's 3 whole things I liked. 4 whole things I liked this year. Wow.
Yeah.
And only 3 were
Thank
in movie
me.
theaters.
What are you gonna say, Price?
I wanted to revise what I was saying. I completely forgot about the Tetris movie. I guess I didn't remember that it was this year. It seems like I saw it a long
That's
time ago.
Apple's fault.
In general, I feel like sometimes Apple does good things, but I don't even have Apple, and I actually saw it at a friend's house, and that Tetris movie was really good. So I agree with you; it's a really good movie.
I've heard that.
They should put it on. They should have had it out on video this month for Oscars because it's not going to get any. I don't even know if it's eligible because it didn't get released in any theaters, so it probably isn't. Shanatsky sends in $2. Is it worse? is worst look up Final Drafts inclusivity report. Final
Mhm.
Drafts inclusivity. I have no idea what he's talking about.
Oh, I don't even want to.
I know about
just by
Final
the
Draft.
name
I
of
just
that.
haven't. Well, Final Draft is a writing software. They also host some contests here and there.
Oh,
The thing is that I only pay attention to the other collaborators.
Inclusivity report allows you to assign custom properties to any character, race, gender, blah 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 blah.
Oh Lord.
Okay.
Yeah, it's I think it's a tool
is
that's just used so that you can rewrite certain characters to be more
For
fun.
fuck's sake.
oh,
If you want to.
yeah.
It's not mandatory, which is even better. It's the fact that it's not mandatory.
How enlightening of them.
Christ. Yeah, that'll make scripts
How
better.
enlightened.
Oh, nobody's going to be using it. Nobody who wants a career is going to be using that. I can assure you.
Yeah, see, even Sadie thinks that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Ironcasters, she's like, keep that shit away from me. Sends in. She's barking at invisible dragons, probably. Ironcaster's been a member for 2 months. 2023 was a year lesser films got to shine. Yeah, because superhero films were also bad from the mainstream Hollywood studios. Japan gave Shin Kamen Rider. Yeah, well, that, and you had even American side of things, Western entertainment. You had Sound of Freedom. Oppenheimer did well for various reasons, for better or worse. Yeah, there was a lot of smaller films that did well. I didn't like the Evil Dead Rise film, but that did pretty good.
Yeah.
There were some other ones there.
You think the failures of this past year were basically a necessity to try to send a message and people learn their lesson?
And this is why I was
100%
kind of worried about Barbie, because I had said it then and I still stand by it, that the audience sacrificed Mission Impossible for this shit. What we were doing is sending a signal. The audience was like, we're done. We're not going to go see any more of these movies. They're these big bloated blockbuster movies that we can't guarantee are going to, give us what we ask for. Barbie was the exception because women went and seen it, and Oppenheimer was a Nolan film, so it didn't count like that.
I feel like. Oh, go ahead.
I love the Mission Impossible franchise, but one thing I will say is that they've gotten away from the stealth element a bit.
Yeah.
Which I particularly enjoy, and they've gone full blown action.
Well, they're kind of like the Transformer movies or superhero movies now, like I was saying.
I don't know if that's the reason that it failed, as much as maybe Barbie did have a huge impact, but personally, that is one source of disappointment for me. Even though I did enjoy the movie, and I'm looking forward to part 2. I wish they would lean more back into the stealth element.
I feel like Tom Cruise is trying to take on an American Jackie Chan almost thing, where it's like the draws to see what stunt will he do next that puts his entire life at risk. That's the centerpiece of everything. And like you say, it's not like I used to watch the old the 90s version of Mission Impossible. The very first episode of the 90s series had Q as the bad guy, or the guy, I suddenly forget his name for some reason.
Desmond Llewellyn.
John
Delancey. John Delancey as the assassin.
Oh, sorry.
In the very first
That was
episode.
one from the late 80s.
I went Bond.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Q, Star Wars Q, not Bond Q. And but yeah, no, the
late 80s or something, right?
The stealth, the deception, the sort of caper atmosphere of it. Yeah, that's gone by the wayside after about basically the first movie. Everything after 2 was
they made
exactly.
Jim Phelps a bad guy, so they can go to hell anyway.
Yeah.
Now,
maybe they feel it's a tougher
maybe,
sell, but
I feel like maybe saying Mission Impossible might be, I guess you say done for, or just no, their days are numbered. I feel like that's still a bit of a premature thing to go for. If it stays that way for 2 or 3 movies, I would say then that the franchise is dead, unless it pulls an Expendables 4 and then it's super bombs. Well, then it's done for. I mean, it underperformed. As I said before, I just think the interest just wasn't there this time around. I mean, those movies historically have been up and down. There have been times where they've done worse. There have been times where they've done better. And James Bond movies have kind of been that way.
Yeah, but not this bad, Nick.
But
it's also a part 1 situation.
But it has been. But it has been that way with the Bond movies. It has been.
The Bond movies, yes, not Mission Impossible.
Look at the calendar. But go look at the calendar and look at the timeline of things. Once again, these movies, it exactly bomb. You could say it underperformed. I mean, yeah, it was expensive, very expensive. It just, I don't feel like the interest wasn't there because most people who saw it seemed to like it, even if they didn't think it was up to par with Fallout. But I wouldn't say it's a done franchise. If it like pulls Expendables 4 or it stays this way for 2 or 3 movies, I think then it would be safe to say. I think it's a little soon to go for it being done for.
I wouldn't
let's
say
see.
done for per se, but you got to acknowledge this here. Like, look at this. You got the most recent one is one of the lowest grossing ever, right?
Okay.
That says something
Yeah.
with inflation.
Yeah, no, I'm acknowledging it.
That's
Yeah.
bad. And when the last
Yeah.
one did very, very well
Mm-hmm.
with a $60 million opening and gross 220
Mhm.
million, yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
a big dive. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not
It
saying
is.
that the franchise itself's got a problem, but I think that was the audience saying we're just not going to buy into this shit no more. You know,
Well, I mean,
it's part of the shit for some reason they decided.
For me, Rogue Nation, the 5th one was my favorite. I felt part 6 was a little bit of a drop off, but I can see how people might favor one or the other. Again, the lack of the stealth element bothers me, but that's been gone. Like Scribe Light.
I didn't realize part 2
Scribe
made
Light
that much
said,
money.
You know,
I'm gonna
that's been gone since the first movie. I'd be interested to see how much part 1. I'd be interested to see how much part 1. Sorry, go for it.
The counterpoint here is that Mission Impossible 2 is the absolute worst as franchise, the same way that Spider-Man 3 also made the most money of the original Sam Raimi trilogy, yet it's the absolute worst one. Yeah, there's definitely a dip in the box office numbers. Once again, I just think it's a general interest because if you look, it didn't even have a big opening weekend to begin with. So that's before people even saw it. I'd say that's more of a lack of interest. Now, if they were to open a la a Spider-Man 3 or even a Batman vs. Superman, and then it took a huge drop, then I'd probably go that route. Say, okay, hey, sorry, Tom, but you're gonna have to move on. I think it's just people just weren't interested this time around.
Well,
look at also a lot of the lesser Bond films that were not as good. A lot of those ones had higher grosses than ones that were story-wise drastically superior, but you know, they happen to be piggybacking off the success of the prior movie.
I'd be really interested to see if part 2 outperforms part 1 because again, it has that part 1 attached to it. It has good word of mouth. So have people seen it after the fact outside of theaters on streaming? Are they kind of just waiting to go and, you know, see part 2 as a complete package? And especially if the timing is a little bit better than it was for part 1.
If sorry, somebody wanted to say something.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I thought originally CC was curious with the first film. When he said part 1, I didn't know he meant of the new movies. With inflation, the original film is close to $400 million. So that means the second film is probably in the $450 million inflation range. So that's just to kind of compare those films and kind of the same thing with Mission Impossible 3, because that actually took a little bit of a downturn after 2. But yeah, like at this point, they're really falling off. Like they're at about my point is they're about half of what they were to begin with. And this last one really fell off. So unless they really find a way to reinvigorate the franchise with the next one, I think it's pretty much this next one's done. It's it. That's it.
It might be done. Do they need to reinvigorate or they just need to regenerate interest? Because
they need to do so. If Barbenheimer, the whole thing became like how to go back to the movies for a double feature and everything. They do well to have a double feature of part 1 along with part 2 with like a special screenings or something for the first run to bring people back in and get them interested, or just re-release the first one in a limited run prior to part 2 coming out to give it a second shot.
I do feel like kind of putting the blame, and I don't know if you are, Scribe, I do feel like putting the blame on Barbenheimer. I don't think if that's what you're doing, I don't think that's wholly accurate. I think that's just a cop-out people like to do. If you are, I apologize if I'm misinterpreting. I just don't think people were just that genuinely wanting to see it, really.
No, it wasn't a blame thing.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't think Barbenheimer impacted this movie's performance.
No, I'm saying is if they can somehow recreate the momentum of the idea of going to the double feature of, I mean, the big praise that everybody gave the whole Barbie Oppenheimer thing was bringing people back to the theater for a theater experience again. They really played that up. Even Tom Cruise praised the idea of the whole thing, and this is how movies are supposed to work. If they can somehow recreate that kind of feeling about going to the movies again in an old time fashion with like a double feature or something to that effect, that might be a way to sort of reinvigorate the movie going audience while also trying to make up for lost time and gaining some extra revenue for the first part going into the second part. That's just what I thought.
I have a different.
I apologize. I misunderstood you. I apologize.
I wonder if part of it is that it was a solid action movie, but it didn't feel specifically like a Mission Impossible movie. It didn't feel like it had identity beyond just being a solid action movie, and maybe that just wasn't enough to gain broader interest. It's like, there's a good action movie in the theaters, but it wasn't.
Well, that was basically just Fallout. Fallout was pretty much. If there were some definitely more similar elements of Fallout than there was per se the first movie, yet Fallout did one of the best performances of the franchise. So
I disagree with most of what you guys said, actually. I think that Barbenheimer did influence the movie. I think that people were hungry for a good summer movie, and they never got the IMAX, the window that they wanted, and the conversation changed as opposed to, let's say, a Top Gun. Sure, it wasn't as big an opening as Top Gun, wasn't as anticipated, but I do think that people kind of liked it and it would have had more legs. The fact that Barbenheimer swooped in like a week or two later, 10 days later, really stole its thunder. And in addition, I also think that Tom Cruise made some marketing mistakes. He thought that it would be part 1 and part 2 and people would really like that idea, but I think that was a mistake. I think he should have just said this is a standalone movie. And I saw that in 1 or 2 interviews very close to the opening, he said, oh, you don't have to have watched the previous installments to enjoy it. But that was one interview that he said it once. I would have made a much bigger deal of this. Just letting people know, if you like Tom Cruise, if you enjoyed Top Gun, you should go see this movie. Don't say that it's part 1. Just say that it's a Mission Impossible movie. And then for part 2, they could have said this is his final movie. If it didn't make enough money or whatever, they could just say this is the final Mission Impossible. We're inviting everybody. It's the final movie. Instead, they did this part 1 and part 2 along with Barbenheimer, the IMAX, and all the other issues. And I feel like it was sort of a perfect storm of bad luck.
There's one issue everybody's overlooking.
Okay.
Because I think you're right to Price to a point.
What's your issue?
This is the other issue right here. The audience that would normally go to Mission Impossible, as I pointed out, that's instead.
That could be,
that
Tom,
could be part of it.
Maybe onto something, because obviously a movie like a Mission Impossible does have a crowd that I guess you could say is a bit more normie base, and a lot of those people.
Well, add that 100 or 184 million that went to see Sound of Freedom that didn't go to see Mission Impossible, and there's your box office.
They were head to head, right?
I think if that's the case, then that kind of brings it back to the original case that I was making. Just a general lack of interest. People saw.
Well, the IMAX, not having IMAX did hurt it a lot.
Well, you think it hurt that bad?
I think it did.
Okay.
I just had the weirdest metaphor come to mind. Sound of Freedom was the Ross Perot to the George W. Bush of Mission Impossible. I don't know why the hell my brain suddenly did that. I was like, he took away the thunder. Like, there you go.
But, all right, well, let's see what else we got going on here. Space Jettison gifted 5 memberships. Thank you for that, Space Jettison. We appreciate the support here at the channel. Jason Webster sent in another Australian $5 and says, favorite films of 2023, Godzilla -1. Next, Sohi, Ballerina, Smugglers Unlocked, Brave Citizen, Jung-E, The Pope's Exorcist, Joyride, and Megan. Yeah, I haven't seen The Pope's Exorcist yet. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy that one. Mr. Tickletrunk sent in Canadian 5 and says, Coke Bear scene. So Stoner tells Park Ranger his picnic basket stolen. Ranger starts Yogi impression. Bear gets them both crunching off screen. Hey, boo-boo. Nikki D sends in $5 and says, any update on Paramount acquisition or merger with WBD or Skydance? Not yet. Nothing new news as far as that I've seen. But I'm sure we'll hear something most likely after the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Right now everything's on, everybody's on vacation, and Hollywood pretty much shuts down over the Christmas New Year season. Mihon sends in another 50 Swedish krona and says, movies I look forward to: Dune 2, Nosferatu, Perfect Days, Handling the Undead, Los Colonos, Humanist Vampire Seeking Consenting Suicidal Person. Well, that's a very specific title.
Oh, wow.
Or are you saying this? You are a vampire seeking. Because we're not like
Robert Eggers
dating
is
site.
directing, Tom, that
Yeah.
Nosferatu movie that comes out next year.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. But we're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay.
Because we got a list of films that are coming up here. Just Nova 1138 sends in $4.99, says the irony of Mission Impossible is that it's a franchise from a show that imagined from a Cold War. Mission Impossible is best as all stealth and with tension, not big budget effects. Yeah, it really lost the spy element of a lot of it, and they became very formulaic. And I know I kind of jokingly say they're all pretty much the same thing, just like a Transformer movie, but you can't deny there are formulaic methods to the films, especially now that we're 7 deep.
Oh yeah,
and outside of the first film, and outside of the first film, you guys are right. There really is not that. I think the only other one that did was Rogue Nation. I think.
I really like Ghost. I like Ghost Protocol.
Was it Ghost? It might be Ghost Protocol.
Ghost Protocol felt. I mean, Ghost Protocol felt like the most.
That's my other problem.
Capery.
I can't keep them straight.
Yeah, it felt the most capery, and it also felt the most like that was the one where they took all the Mission Impossible tropes and broke them so they wouldn't work anymore or something. They had to improvise, which made it a lot more interesting to me. I think, if I remember correctly.
And I think that's
you're right.
That's my favorite besides the first. Yeah,
is that the one where he's on the building, climbing on the building?
Yeah, the big glass building.
Okay, I was gonna say that's one of the few ones I remember bringing up. I think that were actually the thing. Yeah, I think that one's a pretty good one. That's the one I think I was thinking of. That's the Brad Bird one, right?
Yes, I believe so.
I think so. Yeah, so I think you got. Yeah, I think that's the one I like.
There's a little bit of bad robot sneaking into the beginning of that one, but it goes away.
Yeah,
well,
just like
JJ
that opening
producer,
sequence definitely felt like JJ.
Well, there you go. Mark's 47's been here for 32 months. Holy crap! Mr. Tinkle Trunk's been here for 30.
Hey,
and Mr. Buttcrack Media's been here for 19 months. And Action Com says with $2, remember, fly crash over never gets off the ground. Fly crash or never gets off the ground. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. So fly crash or never gets off the ground. Okay. I think we can do that. That'll kind of get us through a lot of these pretty quickly, I think. So here we go. Here's what we got coming up for next year. Right off the bat in February. I mean, there's more than this, but these are kind of the bigger releases. So this is why we're going to go through. The Bob Marley biopic comes out on Valentine's Day. And I believe that's also the same day that Madam Web comes out.
Ugh,
I don't know why that's not on this list.
That's going to be a huge
not even important enough to be put on the list.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's go around real quick. Since it's not on here, Madam Web, do we think that's going to fly, crash, or never get off the ground? And then we'll move on to Bob Marley. So let's start with the bottom and go up the road.
Oh, is that me?
Scribe. Yeah.
I'm the bottom. Oh no, I'm not used to this position. Madam Web is going to. I mean, so what's the difference between crash or never get off the ground? Like what's how are we?
Well, crash would be a bomb, and then never gets off the ground means it does okay, but it doesn't make any waves financially.
Okay, I see. It's going to bomb. I think if the Marvels wasn't the litmus test for what they apparently have planned for this trailer, it doesn't have Spider-Man in it, or if it does, it's going to be some weird cameo, and it's a bunch of characters that nobody cares about from Sony. I mean, it could be Venom 1 all over again. I don't know, but I'm thinking crash.
There's one other thing that never gets off the ground could mean. It could be dumped from its slot and pushed back again, like all these Marvel movies.
Oh,
these Sony movies keep doing. Like, what's that?
I wonder if that, specify Action Com. Do you mean never get off the ground means it gets canceled? Or because, as far as I know, most of the movies on this list are already done.
Yeah. Craven did the same thing. It was supposed to come out in August, and then it disappeared.
They moved it.
Yeah, so you never know. They might just kick this one back for another year. You never know.
But I think we need a middle ground. So, if anything, let's do that. Let's do fly, middle ground.
Fly, crash, or parked, because that's basically what it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Single words. way easier.
Movie that doesn't make any money. Okay, but probably breaks even basically. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. All right, so we'll do parked instead of or grounded.
Coasting. How about coasting?
Coasting, grounded, whatever you guys pick for your choices. Okay, so Script, you're next in line, I think.
Well, it's a Sony film. It's part of the Spider-Man franchise. It'll perform like somewhere between Venom and Morbius. So I'm gonna say it's kind of parked or coasting.
CZ?
I less than parked. This is dead.
Grounded.
This is, I would say in the ground as much as anything on this list. It's got terrible word of mouth before it comes out. Everyone thinks it's going to be awful, and it's like what? I mean, it's just a secondary, tertiary, and less as far as anybody having a clue who Madame Web is. And look, sorry, I mean, if you're a fan of the character, great, but it's just this is not this is not going to go anywhere.
She's not even the character. Nothing like her. The original character.
300 million, maybe that would be a high.
You know what? I like this one better. We're going to use this one.
Oh, there you go.
All right. So yeah,
Night
since
Swim.
Madam Web's on here, but we'll go back around to Argyle and Night Swim.
here we
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So you say it's grounded. CC Price. Where do you think Madam Web is going to land, or is going to crash, or going to fly?
I think it's going to be like Morbius, and I think it's a movie that's very late to the party. Even all the other girl boss movies weren't well received, but this isn't exactly even the time of Black Widow or anything. This is already a time where nobody has any patience for this, and I think it's going to flop hard.
Flop hard. Nick.
Dead on arrival, Madam Web is. Crash, burn, never to be seen or heard from again. That's it. That's it. Madam Web is, man. Craven will probably make $5 million more at best compared to Madam Web, just because Craven actually has fans.
Clobber in times. You're the comic book guru. What do you say?
I'll be surprised if it actually even makes the theaters of that date, like it says. But if it does, yeah, I'll be surprised. I'll be surprised if it actually is released.
I think it's done.
And then if it does, dead as everyone says it is. I mean, it's deader than Morbius. And if it could be deader than Morbius, because he's,
Clobby, you better have a good title for Madam Web by the time it come out the same way you had Eternals or in Star Trek Into Dumbness. You better have a good title for Madam Web by
Madam
then.
Dead?
No. Mad Dumb Web.
Madam Dead. Madam Dead.
I'll work on it for you, buddy.
Yeah, you come up with a good one. You always do.
I
think you guys are right.
Burger, man. Go ahead.
I think this is definitely Morbius level. In fact, Morbius might be a more popular character than Madam Web, at least
Morbius
known.
is.
So
it had a more known actor, at least.
Yeah, and that too. I think this movie is not even going to come close to Venom. I think it's going to be the lowest grossing of all the Spider-Man spinoffs. I think it's going to get
even worse than Craven will do if it ever shows up.
Yeah. So let's go backwards. We got Argyle coming out on February 12th, which is basically the same weekend. I think that might have a chance of taking over Madam Web. That is the new Henry Cavill movie, Spy movie.
I think Argyle will be a sleeper hit at best. I wanted to do okay with the cast that's got Matthew Vaughn directing. Is it based off a book that has yet to even come out? Even
yes, that's the gag. The gag is that doing it on a book that hasn't been published yet.
Interesting. So hey, I hope it does well. I'll probably catch it. I do like Matthew Vaughn.
Samuel L. Jackson and Bryan Cranston will draw some viewers.
Yeah,
and it'll draw away from Madam Web.
Well, this is going to be Cavill's chance to show if he's star material or not. I think Script and I brought that up before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't Matthew Vaughn's last thing, The King's Man, or like that was the big thing, and it barely cracked over its budget in box office. So I don't know if that kind of humor action is as much a draw as you might think. I mean, it's really going to depend, I guess, on Cavill's
I think
star
the middle
power.
one was the only one that didn't do well, right? of the King's
Golden Circle. Well, I mean, the King's Man, the third one, it had a $100 million budget, and I think it made 125
Oh,
at
okay.
the box office. So, yeah, it
Worldwide,
didn't do that well
it
at
didn't
all.
do well.
I thought the
No,
third
it
one did
didn't
better
do
for
well.
some reason.
No.
It would have been
All right, well,
nice.
I'm gonna say
better than the second.
I'm gonna say that Argyle's gonna fly.
Hmm.
That'll at least be the February. That the ladies are gonna want to go see Henry Cavill in a suit. What do you
I'll
think,
say
Bobby?
Toast. Oh, sorry.
No, I was gonna just go back down the row. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually agree with you on that. But I think it might be because there's so little out there and has been so little out there so long. Finally, something that will probably look mildly appealing will have a modest but decent time at the box office. Yeah, I think it'll fly a little bit. Yeah.
All right. Well, Nick, what do you think? Argyle going to be Henry Cavill's 007?
I hope. I still think I'm still banking on sleeper hit at best. Now, if it does better than that, awesome. I want this to do good. I want it to be good because I'm going to see it. So I'm going to say somewhere between trying to get off the ground, still seeing if it can fully fly. But it definitely won't crash. It definitely will not crash.
Price?
Yeah, that's the one where Bryce Dallas Howard writes a book and it's sort of then with narrating characters or something?
It's a little bit of like Romancing the Stone, but
yeah.
current day
Or
version
American
of it
Dreamer.
where- yeah.
I don't know. When I look at those commercials, I feel like it's almost a bait and switch that Henry Cavill is there, that I'll go see it and it's just going to be dumb, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, didn't mean to bum everybody out.
No. So you think it's going to be?
It makes sense.
Do you think it's going to crash, or are you going to be just grounded?
It's going to It's not going to crash completely, but I don't think that it's going to be a smash hit.
Fair enough.
All right.
Probably right.
Fair enough.
Odds are in your favor, probably there.
Yeah. CC?
I'm going to say Cruise. And depending on the word of mouth, because I have no idea if this is going to be a good movie or a bad movie, I think there's a reasonable chance, expectation, given that there's not a whole lot of competition, that Madame Web maybe beats it on that first weekend. But if Argyle's if it gets good word of mouth, maybe it has a little more staying power and eventually becomes, more over the course of the following weeks and months.
Right.
Should be a cheaper movie at the least, so it wouldn't be hard to be more profitable.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that, but probably, or at least comparable. Script, what do you think?
For Argyle?
Yeah.
I as much as the social medias love to tout their fandom for Henry Cavill, I think it's going to be kind of cruising. I don't think it's going to make any headways. I think people are going to forget about it unless it's absolutely brilliant, because I enjoy that Matthew Vaughn's work a lot, but his movies do have a sort of average performance at the box office and with audiences, and they don't kind of blow up until a few years after they've already been released. So yeah, I think it's going to be parked or coasting.
All right. What do you think, Scribe?
At a $200 million budget in February, with Cavill being diluted by the rest of the ensemble, and it being like was said, sort of a split plot, American Dreamer, Romancing the Stone. One thing's real, the other one's not. I think it's going to crash.
It's also an Apple movie. They haven't been doing well getting them out there.
I think it's going to crash.
Yeah,
I didn't know it had a
$200 million.
If it's an Apple movie, then they're not.
That's an estimated budget.
Oh,
with that cast and everything else, and Matthew. But yeah,
Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard, they're expensive people.
It's an Apple movie.
It's an Apple film, which
Yeah.
means that much like it's going to have a theatrical run, but it's mostly going to be Apple Plus. But I'm pretty sure Apple has not been very good at advertising their films. So that's why I think it's going to coast.
There.
Yeah, I say crash.
Yeah, we'll have to see how that goes.
I don't blame you now.
I didn't know some of that business. So let's move on, because Night Swim is just a Blumhouse movie, and I don't think it matters with that movie as long as it makes $10 million at the box office. It's probably profitable. So,
I saw the preview. There was this, I forget the name of the band, but there was this animated music video several years ago that was very controversial. It's about kids breaking into a school swimming pool and suddenly having a very H.P. Lovecraft experience. I kept seeing that trailer and thinking, somebody really liked that music video, because that's what it looks like to me.
Well, Argyle's also a Universal co-release, so we'll have to see how they handle that. Speaking of universes, Dune Part 2 hits on March 1st. Let's start with you, Scribbles. What do you think?
I think the hype is enough, and I didn't particularly appreciate the first one. I'm a kind of a Dune. I don't want to say purist, but the story was rushed as far as I was concerned, and the one movie can't encapsulate everything that they tried to cover. But as far as compared to the first one and the hype and everything else, I think it's probably going to fly. It'll probably do pretty well, especially internationally.
All right, Script.
I agree with Scribe. I think it's going to fly. It's grown. The first one has grown in quite a decent amount of popularity since its release. And I think because Warner Brothers moved it from October to this quarter, they are betting on it actually dominating the start of the summer box office.
Okay. CC.
I think it'll have staying power. So fly, but it'll take a little bit of time to reach that altitude. It's the movie you come back to 10 years from now. I think in the long term, it'll be good.
All right. Price.
I think that it's going to do okay, but I think that ultimately it'll be one of those things. These movies seem like they were expensive to make, and I think that while it's going to do okay, I don't know if it'll be a smash hit. I'll say that it won't lose money.
All right. So not too confident in Dune Part 2. Nick.
I'm with Price of Reason. I think it's gonna not lose money. To be fair, I'm not the target audience for this. I think it'll do okay to good. We'll see. I think it's gonna have a good first weekend, and then we're gonna see if it holds. So I think there's interest there. It's not my movie that I'm personally interested, but when it comes out, I hope people enjoy it, and I hope it wards repeat views for them. So for the Dune fans out there, I hope you get to enjoy a sci-fi movie.
Clubby.
I'm going to go with Fly. I think it's going to do fairly well. I mean, because again, it's got a. I've seen, and I haven't even seen the first one, but I've seen a lot of people really anticipating the second one, really looking forward to it. There's nothing out there that's going to be getting any kind of excitement in the theaters these days anytime soon, or there hasn't been for a while. So I think it's going to do well. Not like fantastic or anything, but I go with Fly.
Yeah, I'm actually more confident in this movie, especially now after the way Wonka played out, than I was before. I am, and there's one thing, and I'm not a good math guy. I'm not a good money guy when it comes to stuff like Andre and Valiant and those guys and Mikey obviously are good at. What I am good at though is noticing patterns and certain things like that. One thing I noticed is that Dune only made like $100 million less than Godzilla versus Kong did. And they both were released simultaneously on HBO Max. And Dune was like almost an hour to at least 40 minutes or so longer than Godzilla versus Kong. So I think with a lack of competition out there around that same period, Dune Part 2 is not only going to fly, it's going to surprise people. I think it's actually going to finish somewhere between $500 million to maybe even 800 million when it's all said and done. I think it's going to do very well. I could be wrong, but I'm kind of confident now that I've seen Wonka play out well, because I think a lot of the audience that went to see that is because of Timothée Chalamet. This kid, I've been saying it for a while. He's the kid that the girls like. You can't manufacture these guys. They just happen.
You are correct on that. They have the market decides. And I'll give him that credit on that, because I did see the first Dune. People did seem to gravitate towards him. So yeah, it's one of those things. The market decides who they want to be the hit star. I mean, that's why Iron Man worked the way he did for the MCU, and that's why Captain Marvel didn't resonate, because the audience decides. You can try to manufacture a star once in a while, you might get one, but at the end of the day, it's the market that decides.
The same girls that like him.
There's no way this goes below $500 million.
That's
when
what I'm
said and
thinking.
done. That would be
I could agree
shocking to
on
me.
that. I could agree on that. Yeah, I could see
What were you
at
gonna say,
least
Price?
500.
They also like Zendaya, and especially if the
Yes.
same people that like her like him, and they're sort of together in a romance, whatever, in the movie, sort of. So I think that they'll really play that with the marketing, and maybe you're right. That's why I said I don't think it's going to lose money, but you know what? Maybe that is a factor. Wonka was not a good movie, and it seems to be doing relatively okay, and I have no real explanation for it.
Because the ladies who like him are the same type of ladies that love Loki, Tom Hiddleston. Right.
Yeah, they
So they
like
made
those
him
kinda
kind of a
guys.
star
Yeah.
too. I mean, he's not an uber big ace list star, but he's got a following.
Right.
And
Hail Gothy
Timothy's-
boys.
Yep, they like him.
They certain generation likes them, yeah. I guess.
Yeah.
I guess.
Well, I mean, they're
Yeah.
kind of like, I mean,
Yeah.
at some point we may talk about one or two of these kids as the next Johnny Depp. Don't forget, that's the way he started out. He was the little emo, fucking Edward Scissorhands and shit. Like, was a while before he kind of changed into Captain Jack,
Yeah.
But anyway, Kung Fu Panda 4. I didn't even know there was a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't
I'm
know.
surprised it's going theatrical because I think the last one went straight to streaming, but I think this one has some chick in it too. So this is going to be an uber woke fest from what I think I remember seeing. I think this, being a DreamWorks movie, I think it's going to coast, but it's a kid's film, so it has a chance to fly. We went the opposite direction last time, so I think we start with Scribe again here. What do you think, Scribe?
I know nothing about these movies. It's a kids' movie. It's animated. I'm assuming that there's a built-in audience to go see this for families and things. And admittedly, like I said in I think our last episode or whatever, our last show was on. There's obviously a yearning for families to have something to go take their kids to at the theaters since Disney's not delivering lately, and it might just be just this much outside of Disney that people will go to it. So I'll say fly. Why not?
All right, Script.
Kung Fu Panda, I'm thinking it's going to coast because number 3 did okay, but it didn't make enough waves like the first one did. So yeah, I'm going to say it's going to coast.
Yeah, that's right. Aquafina is the new character. I forgot.
Oh, never mind.
Oh.
So you got Jack Black and Aquafina. Yeah.
It's going to make most of its money streaming and or home audience stuff.
Yeah,
It's a kids movie, so.
CC.
There's enough sales beyond the movie on this character in this franchise. I wanna root for Ghostbusters, and I hope that Ghostbusters is number 1 and Kung Fu Panda is number 2, but I feel like they're gonna be close. And I do kind of agree with the sentiment that Kung Fu Panda will earn enough money in toy sales and plushie sales and all that. It'll do fine. Coast, it may not soar or fly, but it'll do well enough to continue.
Yeah, good point. Price.
I've never really liked those movies. It's hard for me to say. They keep making them, so I guess somebody is going to see them. Maybe there's a family angle to it. I don't think it's going to flop. I don't know if it's going to be something amazing at the box office, but it's another one of those movies that I think that if nothing else, they'll make their money back at the box office, and then later in streaming and in other avenues, they'll continue to make money. They're not going to regret making it, in my opinion.
Yeah. Nick?
I think Kung Fu Panda 4 at the very minimum is going to do pretty good. There's an audience for this franchise, and also with Disney and Pixar disenfranchising their audience, I think DreamWorks is one of those studios that is picking up on that slack, and I think that's going to work towards his favor, even with the insufferable Aquafina. And the audience for Kung Fu Panda is going to be a bit different than, let's just say, Renfield. Not just because it's a bit bigger, but because different types of people. So they're not going to be as aware of how terrible Aquafina is. They won't have to see her. They'll just have to hear her terrible voice. And I'm sure as long as she doesn't ruin that movie, I think it's going to do, at the very minimum, just fine. I myself have only seen the first movie. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good, solid movie. I personally like the How to Train Your Dragon movies better, but seems like there is a bit of a bigger audience for these. So, hey, Shout out Kung Fu Panda, man. Hopefully they do good.
Oh, ho, 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 Clobby, what do you think?
I don't have much of an opinion, but I'll just go along with everyone else's. It's a fourth one, so it has an audience built in. Aquafina, thank you. No thanks. So yeah, it'll probably do okay, but I don't have any strong views one way or the other. I've never seen the other ones. So.
Yeah, and as I said at the top, I think it's gonna coast or whatever, but it doesn't matter because it's a kids movie like that, and it's gonna make all its money back on streaming and video anyway. But the big one that opens up that same weekend is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. The last film did fairly well, didn't do great, but did fairly well, but it was in the midst of the pandemic. It was one of the first big movies to be released after things started to open up again, so it did respectable. I think this one was budgeted properly, so in that respect, I think that there's a bit of interest in this film. I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to fly. I think somewhere in the $200 million range, at least, if not more. What do you think, Clobby?
Agreed. I think it's going to fly if it can survive. The only it's Aquafina will be Patton Oswalt. Oh, God.
Good point.
But if I can survive him, this one we know going in that we're going to get more of our beloved
DOG crew, yeah,
right. So that can only help it in end time of year and things like that. So obviously, it gets bad word of mouth also and just kills it. But assuming it's enjoyable and we get something of what we want again and more of it, like the original characters, that's all it's going to take for this one to have some legs and fly, in my opinion. So yes,
all right. Nick, you gonna be busting some ghosts March 29th?
Yes, I will be, because like you, I'm a Ghostbusters fan, and I actually do like Afterlife, even though it's not a perfect movie. I had fun with it, and I hope that it delivers, and I hope there's not a global warming message in there. So
yeah,
that's my one concern about this, because I do feel like the cast looks fine and the effects are fine, but I'm worried that's going to be a global warming message. That's my one major concern. So I think at the very minimum, it's going to try to catch some flight, and it's going to make sure that it holds it together. So I think it's somewhere between fly and try to get off the ground.
Oh, wow. Okay. So not as confident, but Price, what do you think?
I hope I'm wrong. Sorry.
I liked Afterlife, even though it was a flawed movie. I still enjoyed it, and I hope that they follow up with something good. As for the quality of the movie, I'm not sure, because I didn't feel that great with the trailers, but I'm gonna be there to see it, and I hope it does well. So I don't think it's gonna do badly. Do you know what kind of budget they have for it?
I think it was under 100. I think it was.
Well, the first one was 75. If I
was going to say, yeah,
correctly.
the last one was pretty cheap. Looks like 75 for this one as well.
I think it's going to be okay then. They're not going to lose money.
Oh, no. The thing that Ghostbusters has to fear most is Godzilla and Kong coming up a few weeks later. That's all they got to worry about, I think.
Man.
For sure.
Anyway, CC?
I'm a fan of Ghostbusters, and I am worried about this one. I'm going to say that it coasts to about the same box office as the first one. I got two concerns. The first concern, obviously, is Godzilla versus Kong coming up on April 12th is going to eat it. And the second thing is, much as I love the concept, it's a really hard concept. And I get what Nick Weiser's saying about the cast. That could be an issue. But the concept of just like fear being the enemy, and I am very worried that they're not going to nail it. They're either going to lean too much into the physical, corporeal form of the enemy, and it's not going to be scary, or it's going to be like, too much like the original Ghostbusters 2. And it's just, because with fear being the enemy, it's like, well, I'm afraid, so I'm going to freeze to death. That's freaking awesome. But I feel like they're going to miss the mark on actually making it impact and be frightening to the audience.
Script.
I think it's going to coast. I think it's probably going to have a Ghostbusters 2 type vibe to it. But I don't know. I could be wrong there. I'm looking forward to it myself personally. I want to see they're back in New York.
Mhm.
I mean, that's already a win right there.
Yeah.
And you've got the original cast. I don't know how long they're going to be in it by in comparison, but it looks like they're all together for sure. So I think that's going to drive a nice bump, but I think it's probably it's a Sony film still. Sony films rarely break the box office, so to speak, especially recently. So I think it's going to coast.
All right. Scribe.
As a fan of the franchise, I'm not looking forward to it because, like, when you make a motion the MacGuffin, you're just going back to Ghostbusters 2, and like I think CC said, yeah, if you'd better bring out something that actually scares the audience to make that believable as a plot point in the film. But I am looking forward to seeing the original team back. Although I feel like bringing back to New York and bringing back the original team, it's a member berries kind of thing, and I'm kind of like, But either way, yeah, it'll coast. It's going to make back. It's not going to lose money, and it'll make the bulk of what it's going to get in the first weekend or two before Godzilla comes out. So yeah. But I actually have to take off. I'm afraid.
You do. Is there anything in the next year that you're looking forward to? That was going to be the next question after this. Probably the one thing that you think you're looking forward to the most on the list.
I mean, my fingers crossed for Joker 2. I really did like the first one. It did have that kind of like it was Taxi Driver with the Joker, but I did enjoy it quite a bit. It was enough of a departure from comic, and just like Deadpool, it showed what you could do if you take the character quote unquote seriously and give it his or her own showcase that fits in with what the fans would want to see. So yeah, the second one, and Joaquin Phoenix and the guy who directed the thing, whose name I suddenly forget because I do that all the time. Todd Phillips. I mean, yeah, you talk about a guy who went from Hangover to something like that. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm also morbidly curious about Gladiator 2.
I don't know why the logo there reminds me of Star Wars Episode 2.
Because it's the same. It's the same logo. It's the same. Logo.
Yeah, it's like what the.
But yeah, so in about 20 minutes, I don't, not to steal anybody else's thunder. At the top of the hour, I'll have my weekly show called TED Excellence, and the subject of this one is let me read it real quick. Actually, everyone's not a critic, and why it matters. Apparently, it's something to do with movie critics and diversity.
Interesting.
Can't wait to find out what's
up. We have to check
anyway,
into that one for sure. Yeah.
Yep. So that's in 20 minutes on my channel, but everybody else will stay here. This is much more worthwhile than whatever I'm doing.
We'll try to remind everybody that you're going to be going live soon, so don't worry about that. But check out Scribe Light's channel. He does great work over there.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys, and thanks for having me on. And you guys, I'll see you on the next one.
All right, sounds good.
Dude.
Everybody,
cool.
Bye.
See you.
On the note of Ghostbusters, Gabriel Knight sends in $4.99 and says, "I hear Walter Peck is in the new Ghostbusters." Yes, I was one of the people to first post the image of him.
Oh wow!
Out there. This time he will be working with CPS to go after the Ghostbusters for giving nuclear accelerators to kids. I don't know about that. I think the rumor was that he's the mayor.
Oh no,
that would be funny.
That'd be funny.
That would be brilliant, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like none of us voted for you, let alone
but as we've pointed out time and time again, I'm sure there's even a YouTube video out there about it. As much of a dickhole he was, as he was right. Unfortunately, he was not right to shut down the grid, but yeah,
his approach was unethical, but his concerns were valid.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yes.
So at that point, I think that he'll coast on that to get into office, basically. Yeah, and the Ghostbusters showing up now are just gonna be a pain in his ass, right? That's pretty much probably what it'll be. That or he'll be like somebody high up in the ranks, I'm assuming. But that's just my guess. But yeah, so we'll have to see how that rolls. Yeah, I'm with you guys. I think it's going to do well for the most part. But I agree with script, and I have the same concerns with some of the things I've seen in the trailer. I'm getting some Ghostbusters animated series vibes, which I know some people are like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's from the first season. Like, basically, once they hit the ABC stuff, then it's all garbage, and that's why Ghostbusters 2 turned out the way it did, and I had to remind several people of that one night on Flashcast and got a lot of shit for it. So everybody's like, well, Ghostbusters 2 is great. It's like, yeah, but is it really as good as the first film? No, it's not even the same tone. And you guys are right. Like the whole mood slime thing, we kind of get the same thing here. If that's the case, I hadn't heard that price. I mean, I saw the one bit in the trailer where people get frozen, but I didn't know it had anything to do with being afraid of, having fear and then you get frozen. That would make sense though. And that to me comes off a little cartoony. So I'm kind of afraid of that. I'm afraid it will have some bad word of mouth coming out of that first weekend, and that could kill its momentum. And if it does, it does. But that's Sony's mistake for rushing into this thing a little too hardcore and not kind of evaluating things a little bit better, I don't think. But I also think that the original cast will be utilized a little bit better. But
yeah,
we'll see.
Who said Ghostbusters 2 was great? I don't think that at all. I think that I've
a lot
only
of people
seen
like
that
it.
movie a few times. The original movie, I know every scene by heart. If you put it on,
same here.
you turn down the volume, I could probably talk instead of the actors. Whereas Ghostbusters 2, I've seen it maybe twice or 3 times my whole life.
I mean, I don't hate it. I saw it in the theater opening weekend.
Yeah, me too.
It's okay. It's okay, I guess.
It's just it suffers. It has some issues, and then when you find out some of the behind the scenes stuff, you're really like, damn, we could have got a better movie. Because Bill, the reason he had such contention with this shit for years is the movie that they promised him for Ghostbusters 2 was not the movie they made. And that's been talked about in a few different places. Trying to think of the book I read most of it in. I can't remember the name of it, but it's a book that covers a lot of comedy films out of the 80s, and the audiobook version is actually narrated by Curtis Armstrong, believe it or not. Booger himself. Yeah. And they get into that where they trapped Billy into this dinner at this fancy restaurant, and they had it decked out with Ghostbusters stuff just to try and get him to sign on to Ghostbusters 2. And they made all these promises to him that what the film was going to be, and he had kind of an idea. They were kind of working, and then when they went to work at Martha's Vineyard, they had an idea what the script was going to be, and that's where he left it. But then when he got to the set, he was like, it was all about slime and the fucking ghosts and the special effects guys. And it became all this toys and other crap that he did not sign up for. But he was a pain in the ass to begin with, because there's a reason why he's not even in the slime scene, because he refused to get slimed in this movie. That was another problem you had, is Bill Murray wasn't playing ball too well either. And stuff like that. And he didn't like the uniform and the backpack, so that's why he's not in the uniform and the backpack through most of the movie. And some other things like that. So it's just the second film has some problems. And as long as it took to get made, believe it or not, that movie was rushed. I know it sounds weird, but it was. Because by the time they got Bill to sign on, got it greenlit, and they had a specific window of opening it in June of 89, they only had so many months to get this movie done. So it was rushed through production. And so Ghostbusters 2 to me is a good film. I love it. I got great nostalgic value for it, but it's not nearly on the same level as Ghostbusters 1. Right? It's like a 7 or 8 out of 10 as opposed to a 10 out of 10. So I didn't want to go on a long spiel there. Sorry about that, guys.
No, you're right.
Oh, man,
so let's rush through a few of these.
Love it.
I think we've talked a lot about Godzilla versus Kong, so let's quickly go through the list.
Okay.
Let's start with you, Script. Do you think it's going to fly, crash, coast?
It's going to perform the same as last year, and I think that's a coast, because it didn't fly, but it did really well. So yeah,
Really? Godzilla versus Kong did over $500 million while it was simultaneously on HBO Max.
I mean, I think that's great, but again, what's the metric for fly, right?
Well, I think for that's if it does over 500 million, that's great for that.
Okay, then if that's the metric, then I'll say it'll fly. Then yeah,
I think at least. I mean, I know the budget's a little higher though. That's the only thing I will say. So I think this one has like a 200. Let me look. But as we're going through, CC, what do you think
about this movie? I hope it does less than Dune. Put it that way. I'm not going to say that it's going to fly. I think that it'll do well enough. I don't know what his budget is. Let's say 500 million is not an unreasonable estimate, give or take. I don't think it's gonna. It'll gain some definite benefit from -1, but I don't think it's gonna.
I can't find a specific. All I can find is over 200, and for some reason the number 250 sticks in my head.
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, then it could be questioned. I don't think it's necessarily going to make money, but I mean, it'll.
That's the problem.
I
They did
could
spend a little bit more
yeah.
on this one than the last one. Sorry.
Yeah, no, this is not $1 billion film. Is it a $500 million film? It could be. Yeah. It's
Price?
it'll do all right.
700 million.
All right. Man's just throwing a number out there.
Huge number.
And that would be profitable for WB on that one.
That
On
would be.
Legendary. All right, Nick.
Number for Godzilla Kong, or just
You don't have to give a specific number. Do you think it's going to
Oh.
fly? You can do whatever. It's up to you.
I think it's gonna do pretty good. I don't know. I don't know how. I wonder if it's gonna not. I don't think it's gonna be anywhere as good as Godzilla -1. But Godzilla and Kong put together are a box office draw. People like the concept of them being in the same movie. So I think by that default, there's going to be an audience there, and people like monsters, and kids like monsters too. So I think it's going to have a decent following, regardless of quality or not. So yeah, I'd say at the very minimum, 500-600 million minimum.
All right. Clobby, you back yet?
Yes, I'm going to go with Fly, or at least modest. I think it's going to do fairly well because, again, we're just to a point where they're actually releasing some things that might catch people's interest, that might get people going out to theaters again. There's been so bare for a long time, and maybe it could benefit from -1 and won't be nearly in a class with it in terms of the story, no question about it. But it looked like it might be the kind of popcorn fun that people are kind of going to be wanting to see, the spectacle. Kong in there with Godzilla. I remember the last one opened. It opened on streaming. It didn't even. I don't think it didn't play a lot of theaters. It did, but not. It was just a different time. If you remember when that last one opened, but I think it became pretty popular. So I would say it'll do reasonably well. I don't have a number for you, and that's not my bag. But I think I agree with Nick.
Yeah.
It'll do.
No, I don't expect anybody to come up with a number, but
yeah.
No, I'm going to go off that, and I think it's going to do very well. I think it's going to do very, very, very well because Kong and Godzilla are the only one of the few of these franchises so far that has gone up in trajectory. When it started at a lower level with Godzilla, and King of the Monsters actually kind of fell off really badly for the studio. In the theaters, it didn't do well, but it did well on video, and the toys sold well. And that's what informed them with Godzilla versus Kong. And as I said, it did like almost $500 million during the midst of the pandemic while it was released simultaneously on HBO Max. And this sequel coming, not too far off of that one. And right off of Godzilla -1, not speaking to the quality.
Yeah.
I think it's gonna. There's a lot of buzz around it. I think it's gonna do very well. I think Nick's not too far off with his prediction. So
yeah,
or was it Price who threw the number out? I can't.
Price went to the 7 range or something.
Yeah,
so
Price it was.
Right,
million,
yeah. So between that $700-800 million range, maybe even close to $1 billion, I think that's not far off. In fact, I think this might be one of the bigger films of this next year.
Yeah.
So we'll have to wait and see.
I think people forget that. People like monsters. They're easy movies for people to turn their brains off.
Kids
and
love
just
them
go
too.
with it. Especially kids. My kids, especially my oldest, she really likes Godzilla. She'll probably be begging me, can we go see this? Can we go see this? And of course, I'm not gonna say no. So yeah.
I mean, look at the trailer. This is definitely geared even more towards kids than the last one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It won't be my cup of tea, but that's fine. As long as she enjoys it and there's people who enjoy it. Yeah, there's an audience for Godzilla versus Kong. It's clear they know who they're trying to make this movie for. And for that, I applaud that. Even if it's not something I'm interested in.
Oh, I know it's going to be garbage. We already went through the breakdown, but it's going to be good garbage. It's going to be like, your favorite McDonald's, right? Like that's what it's going to be.
Hey, I like my
Godzilla -1 is a fine fucking steak, right? Like it is.
Yeah, it's
cooked perfectly.
Yeah, it's cut above.
Exactly, but Godzilla versus X Kong or whatever is going to probably be your basic Big Mac, but you fucking love it at the same time.
It'll be crappy nuggets.
pretty much what you expect, but you know what you're getting out of it, basically.
Yeah,
So yeah.
yeah.
And then Jason Webster points out, as I was, that Godzilla vs. Kong in 2021 earned $470.1 million worldwide against a budget production marketing of, that one had 275. So this one's in the same range probably. I heard 250 was the number I got thrown at me. So they may have actually come down a little bit. Of course, this one was probably, I think were they still shooting during the pandemic for this one?
yeah.
Or was that, so that
Yes,
might
they
have
were.
also factored into it. But we'll keep moving along here because this next one, not a big deal. It's called If. It's an animated film. I don't know. So let's real quickly go through a couple of like that one real quick, just down the line. Fly, Grounded, Coast. I think since it's an animated kids film, it's just going to basically coast. Klobby.
If I knew anything about it, I could tell you, but I've never heard of it before right now.
It's about
so.
imaginary friends. Yeah.
Okay, well, I imagine it might do well, but I know nothing.
I'm trying to remember who does the main voice. Is it Ryan Reynolds?
I wish it well. I have no idea. No, I can't say anything. I know nothing.
It's a lot like Drop Dead Fred. Have you guys ever seen Drop Dead Fred?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Very much same kind of vibe.
Gotcha.
Grown up, your imaginary friend shows up. Yeah.
There you go. I wish I could give you more, but I have nothing.
All right,
Nicholas.
Oh, sorry. For some reason, my
You're
brain.
fine.
Planet of the Apes, right?
No, we're on
No.
If.
On If. I don't know anything about If, so I got no comment.
Like I just said.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No, straight up.
Yeah, I
No
got
comment.
nothing.
Carry on.
No problem. Price.
Same thing. I've never heard of If. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's
Maybe
animated.
if I knew something about it, I'd have something.
The trailer's out there. I've seen the trailer, but yeah.
Okay.
CC?
This will be the best Ryan Reynolds film of 2024 for sure.
Oh.
It could be that surprise hit of the summer, but if it came out a couple weeks sooner than it is, it's going up against Planet of the Apes. That'll be tough.
Yeah.
But it'll be the best Ryan Reynolds film of the year. That I will put my money
Ryan
on.
Reynolds movie.
Wow.
Singing endorsement.
A bold statement.
Steve Carell's the other person. He's the one who does the voice of the main character.
Mm.
So what it is it's like a live action with animated imaginary friends. It's very much in the vein, from what I can see of the trailer, like Drop Dead Fred. Sam Rockwell's also in it as a voice. Matt Damon does a voice. Emily Blunt does a voice. Louis Gossett Jr. does a voice. Phoebe Waller-Bridge does a voice.
Oh, that's nice.
Aquafina also does a voice.
What?
And Vince Vaughn.
Well, he's cool.
So yeah, so take it as it is. I think you got a point there. Maybe a surprise. I don't know. Script. Do you know anything about it?
No, and I think the fact that we don't know anything about it is kind of defeating the purpose of trying to speed through right here, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
So I'm gonna say it's coasting, and that's it.
Coasting. All right, Furiosa. What do you think, Script?
It's probably gonna crash.
Ooh, CC.
I think it does okay. Not huge, but I think it does okay. Coasts.
All right. Price.
We're talking about Furiosa, right?
Yes, sir.
I don't think it's going to do exceptionally well, and I think that even the goodwill that it had from those Fury Road people back in the day, I think people don't have any patience for this now, and I think it's going to disappoint. And I hope it does, actually. But it's not only because I want it to disappoint. I think it's going to disappoint the box office, and hopefully they'll never make any more of these.
Hell yeah.
All right, Nick.
Nick.
Hold on, I'm thinking on this one. Furious. I think it's gonna have a decent to good. Sorry, not best. Decent to good opening weekend, and I think it's gonna have a huge drop. Huge, straight up, full stop. That's it. This movie is gonna fall flat on its ass like a fucking pancake.
Yeah. Clobby?
Crash, and not just because I hate the living crap out of the first one. I just think no one's. I think like Price was talking about. No one is gonna have any patience for this crap anymore. I mean, Nick might have a point where it might start out, in a halfway decent, but it will go boom down quickly. It's gonna crash.
I think it's gonna crash and burn.
Oh, dude, yeah. This
Just
is
like
what I'm
RJ
looking.
said here. This movie's already 10 years too late. So yeah.
Yeah, that's another problem for them.
To be fair, it probably
6,
would
7
have,
years, whatever,
it
but
would have a better odd opening weekend. I feel like if they had come out a lot closer to Fury Road, but now we're in the day and age where the Marvels did magnificent. So I can't imagine it doing better than the Marvels.
Yeah. Planet of the Apes. All right. Well, Furiosa, yeah, Crash and Burn. Planet of the Apes, I think is gonna. I don't know on this one. The last 3 have not exactly been humongous hits. They did okay. And as far as I know, Andy Serkis ain't got nothing to do with this one. So I'm going to say this one's going to coast on bad word of mouth after the first weekend. It's not going to do so well. Clobby?
I would tend to agree. I don't really like any of them, and but that's neither here nor there. I know they've been moderately, like just so successes, except that last one. I think this is going to be along the trending down. It might start out with okay legs and then just kind of go down. So I'd say coast to maybe even crash areas somewhere in the
wow
middle there. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do that well at all.
All right, Nick.
We're talking apes, right?
Yep. Is somebody jerking off?
No.
I don't know who it is.
It does. It does.
Nick sounds disappointed that he's not.
Are we supposed to? I mean, I thought we weren't doing that tonight. I thought we weren't doing that tonight, but if we have to, I mean, I can figure it out.
All I'm hearing is like going on, and I'm like, and Nick's like, no, like I want to be, but
I could. I mean, in a pinch. I mean,
I'm trying over here, but you keep asking me about these fucking movies.
How can you wank off the Planet of the Apes, man?
That's a little. Oh man, that's a bit brutal. But you get
The sound stops.
You get
now ballerina. We might have something. Well, wait, save the wanking for ballerina.
I think the wankery of this might make more money than the Kingdom of the Planet.
I think somebody's probably like I'm one of those. I rock my leg a lot. So it's probably what somebody's doing and they don't realize it's bouncing their mic. I'm guessing. I'm hoping to fuck so, because if somebody's jerking off, you can go excuse yourself for 5 minutes and go to the bathroom. Okay?
Just turn your mic off. Just turn the mic off and you can do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just remember like there's a chance you could always hit a wrong button and wind up tubing yourself.
All this talk about flops is turning people on.
Yeah. I think they're more turned on by this than they are Planet of the Apes. So yeah, where were we, Nick? You think it's gonna fly? You think it's gonna crash? You think it's gonna coast?
I think it's gonna it's gonna try to get off the ground, and then it's gonna realize, oh crap, we're missing a wing. Oh no.
He thinks it's gonna wank, basically.
Yeah. Price?
I think that it's probably gonna be okay. It's not gonna be a huge hit, but I think that it won't lose money. It'll just kind of break even.
All right. CC?
I think you got a 3-way battle here.
Ooh,
3 movies.
3-way.
I think everyone likes a 3-way. I think Planet of the Apes absolutely. I think it absolutely crushes Furiosa out of the gate at the box office. It slows If, but I think If is the best of the 3 movies. I think Furiosa probably has some staying power amongst its group, and I think Planet of the Apes ends up being forgettable. But of the 3, Planet of the Apes has the biggest box office.
And you were the one. Was it UCC that said If might be a surprise hit?
It looks like it could be. Yeah.
Yeah. If you see the trailer, you guys know what I'm saying.
to it.
Yeah. Like I see it as what it is, and that's just basically a ripoff of Drop Dead Fred. But we haven't had a movie like that in a very long time, to where I think.
Well, yeah,
right.
I think there's a hunger for it.
You
and
got Ryan
that
Reynolds
kind of
as the lead,
charming, and people like laugh and smile with it. I'm not saying it's going to make $1 billion. I do think that Planet of the Apes is going to make more money, but I think maybe If is the memorable one of the three.
I think you may have a point there, so hang on to that note. But Script Doctor, go ahead on Apes.
On Apes, I think it's going to coast.
All right. These next few movies here we got in June up through July. We got Ballerina, Bad Boys 4, Inside Out 2, and A Quiet Place Day 1. So let's go through this real quickly here. Ballerina, Script.
Ballerina's going to crash.
All right.
I remember when the screenplay came out and it got no buzz, but the people who were working on John Wick really wanted it, but I don't think the audience wants it. So it's going to crash.
CC. Good talk.
CC.
Price.
Maybe he's the one who's flopping.
I think Ballerina's going to crash.
Oh, all right, Nick.
I am gonna third that notion. Will I probably see it only because it's attached to John Wick? Probably, because Keanu Reeves is in it. But I do think it's gonna crash. I genuinely think with the Ballerina, I think they're trying to make up for their lack of feminism and
diversity,
wokeness, buzzword. Everything that they didn't do with the John Wick movies, I think they're trying to make up for in all their spin-offs.
Fair enough. Klobby, what do you think?
I love that subtitle, a John Wick spinoff.
I know, it's kind of like Furiosa, right?
Yeah, I would not have known that would be.
Funny how they need to live up the man's name to survive. Yeah.
So I don't know who the ballerina is or anything like that. I know John Wick
in the second movie.
Okay. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. No, it'll bomb. It'll crash. No one's gonna go see it.
I think you're right. I think nobody's going to care because nobody knows about this. And after the fourth film didn't go as well, I think it's going to more or less crash. Speaking of fourth films, Bad Boys 4. Now, this one, I asked Script. I don't even know if it started shooting yet. I know it's supposed to. I did hear it's still on. So I guess we're going to give it. They could technically get it done by June.
Wow.
But they'd be rushing
skin of their teeth,
skin of their teeth, but they'd be rushing it. If they're shooting it or started shooting it before the strike, I don't know. I do know Will Smith was set to go to that though. So with that, let's pretend it's coming out. So Bad Boys 4, do we think it's going to fly, or do we think it's going to coast, or do we think it's going to crash? Where did we leave off here? We're at the top of the list. So I'm going to say it's going to coast. Even though the last one did very well, I think Will Smith's slap is going to hurt this one. Klobby?
I concur. I think it's going to slap. I mean, coast. It's going to do that. It's going to, if it
in
gets
some communities, slap means very good.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take it back then. It's going to be like a slap to the face of the box office. I don't know, but whatever. Yeah, I don't think it's going to do particularly well, but it's a number 4. Does anyone really care anymore? And no one likes him anymore. So,
yeah, I think that's going to hurt it. Nick.
If the incident never happened, I feel like they'd have potential for this to do fairly well. Even though I haven't seen 3, I do know many who saw it and they did like it, and I think it kind of put the franchise back on the map in a sense that people were at least saying, "Oh, hey, look, this is still a thing." I think this fourth movie is still under the stigma of the Jada Pinkett Soy Smith, and well, Will. You should have never cucked this one, dude. So you reap what you sow, and the worst part about it is you take Mark Lawrence with you.
Well, part 3 was the biggest movie of 2020. Asterix theater shut down in February, but
but it did have
come out in
legs at the
January,
box
and it did do
office.
very well. Yes,
everything, even before they're saying to not go in movies, it did have decent legs. I did look at its numbers. It had numbers like. Obviously, you can't say it was like the biggest movie, but it maintained legs, and that's undeniable.
I actually enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie.
How much better was it compared to the second one? Because the second one,
it actually made the second one better for me because I didn't care for the second one.
Yeah,
but it ties back into the second one to where it helps that movie a little bit. So to me, like 1 and 3 are the 2 better films, but 3 actually helps make 2 better. So yeah.
Okay, maybe I'll give it a shot because I remember thinking, oh, why are they making a third one? Because the second one really shunned me.
Yeah, it felt too much like a Michael Bay movie to me as well. Price?
First of all, I thought that the third one, I saw it in the theater before all that stuff happened, and I
Right.
thought it was fun. It was a fun movie. I didn't dislike it. I liked it better than the second one,
Yep.
but I agree with what everybody is saying here. I think that I don't even think that they're going to release it on June 14th. I think what happened is that Will Smith needed at the time to announce something that sounds positive that may cause some excitement and people like him in this role. So it was pretty close after all that slapping happened. And then he came out and he went to Martin Lawrence's house and they made a video of how now they're going to do Bad Boys 4. So I almost felt like it was a PR stunt. I'm not saying that he's not committed to the movie, but I don't think anybody's making. I think that they're going to announce that it's delayed by another year or something.
It started in April shooting. Then it
did?
halted in July.
Oh.
So it is technically shooting still or been shot.
They'll be picking up in January for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it'll come out.
But it might still get pushed back. You got a plausibility on that.
I don't think it's going to do as well as 3.
Yeah, because they're opening it right smack dab in the middle of summer. That's going to be interesting. CC, what do you think?
I think all 3 of these movies fail. Ballerina, I don't know if it's going to be good or not, but the last spinoff didn't, and that's going to hurt it. Bad Boys 4 might do the best of the 3, but that's not saying much. It's something to watch, I guess, at this point in the summer. And Inside Out 2 is going to be an absolute disaster. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm looking at this as a trilogy of failures.
No, you got a point here because they all open pretty close to each other. So yeah, Script, what do you think Bad Boys 4?
Bad Boys 4 at best is going to coast, and I'm with CC on Inside Out 2. It's going to flop because it was written and produced still under the current Disney regime.
Yes, keep that in mind, kids.
Keep that in mind. But Bad Boys 4, yeah, at best it's going to coast.
Yeah, and then now we're going to do Inside Out 2, and since you two did it already, Price, what do you think about Inside 2?
I think it's going to flop.
Ooh, you're going straight for flop. All right. Nick?
I think it's gonna flop after the first weekend. I don't think there will be a great opening first weekend. I think it'll be a pretty good at best, and after that, it's gonna tank hard. I actually like the first one. There was no need for a second movie, and not only is I'm not gonna be one of those guys that say it's been too long. It's just first movie wrapped up fine. We did not need a second. And with the team working on this movie, this movie is gonna try to get off the ground. It'll probably get let's just say it's kind of like trying to watch a midget jump. You'll see them get a few feet off the ground, but then they're gonna fall like Wee Man.
Feet.
Yeah, a few feet.
Maybe
It's
inches.
gonna have a few feet off. Yeah. It's gonna get a few feet off
What
the
midgets
ground.
you watching jump, sir?
It's gonna get a few feet off the ground, and then all of a sudden it's gonna face plant, and then it'll never get back up. So mostly bomb.
All right, Clobby.
I actually saw the first one and was very disappointed. Didn't like it that much personally, but I agree with Nick on that. I don't think it's going to do particularly well. I think it's just been so long. No one really is going to care that much. I know the first one did okay, right? But I'm going to say coast to lower. Coast to
I saw the first one too. Was very disappointed. In fact, I liked it better the first time I saw it when it was called Herman's Head. Inside Out 2, I think you guys are right, is going to suffer from the Disney curse. Even though I believe Inside Out 1 was one of Pixar's bigger films, I think this one's going to bomb. I think you guys are right. Let's quickly go through Quiet Place and Despicable Me for unless anybody has any major commentary, because I don't see any real reason for it. Quiet Place Day 1, I think, is going to coast. Clobby, it's a prequel.
I'll demonstrate my knowledge of the film and make it quick by not saying anything and being quiet about it.
All right, Nick.
Not my type of movie, but I know there's an audience for it, and I think because that type of audience is really dedicated to these types of movies, I think it's going to do fairly well because there's an audience for it that really likes these type of movies. So, hey, if there's an audience, I can't knock that.
Yeah. Right.
I can only assume that they're not going to spend a lot of money making A Quiet Place day one, and it's probably going to be one of those movies that, based on whatever budget it is, it's going to be profitable for them in some way or another.
I agree on that. It's definitely gonna be profitable. It helps that these movies are not expensive to make too. With Quiet Place, they're not expensive, so they got that going for them.
Also, I just wanted to say something, and this is going to be like a downer comment, but I'll just say that I've met little people before, and just because of your analogy, and I know that they get really offended if you say the other word to describe them. So I didn't really understand why, but I try to make it a point. I try to say little people because I know some people don't like it.
Yeah.
I know
CC?
nobody cares, but but I'll say it anyways.
CC, are you back yet?
Oh yeah, A Quiet Place. It's got an audience. It'll be a successful horror film. I think that's pretty obvious. Probably a reasonable budget. It'll do fine. It'll make money. And I think Despicable Me 4, as a pair to that, will also make money because Minions.
Script?
Yeah, I agree with CC. Quiet Place, it's a franchise that is pretty sustainable right now, so I think it's going to get slightly above coasting, and Despicable Me is probably going to be the highlight of the summer. I think it's going to fly.
All right. Price, what do you think of Despicable Me 4 quickly?
I think I watched the first one, and I think that's about it. I suppose that if they're making another one, there's an audience for it. I don't know who that audience is, but these movies tend to make money, so I'm going with it'll make money.
All right. Nick?
Despicable Me 4 is gonna soar.
All right. Clobby?
Those things do okay. I think it's going to do well. I know nothing about them. Never watched any of those movies, so sorry, got very little for you. But I think they do well. So okay, probably.
Yeah, yeah, you guys are right. With the Minions, it's going to soar. So yeah, I think that's going to do very well on 4th of July weekend. Then we got Twisters, the sequel to Twister on July 19th. I think this is going to go somewhere between coast and possibly be a hit. I don't know too much about it yet. Clobby?
Which one is it again? Beetlejuice 2?
No, Twisters.
Oh, Twisters.
Twisters.
Is this some sort of sequel?
Yes, it's a sequel to Twister. Yes.
That was a garbage movie. That was such a terrible movie.
I know, I hated it too, but the first one made a shit.
I hate that
The first one made a shit ton of money though. So yeah.
Well, this won't. No one's gonna give a crap. Bomb.
Nick?
I loved the first Twister. I am very shameless about it. I will never apologize for that. But this movie is not going to do good. Full stop. Burn, baby, burn.
Price?
Yeah. Probably flop, I guess. Why not?
Ooh. CC?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the first one, but unless the Sharknado's in the meme universe, I don't know where its place is.
Yeah, Doctor?
It's gonna crash. Doesn't have the cast is not a box office draw, and nobody's gonna remember or have fond memories of the original Twister.
Yeah.
At least the main movie going audience. So this is gonna crash.
Is anyone from the original even in that thing?
I don't know.
Elways?
Might be. I'd have to
Not
look.
Carrie
That's a
Elways,
good point.
Elways,
That's kind of where I was going with the coast to do okay. That's dependent on if it has actually original cast members. If it doesn't, then it's
can't
definitely
have Bill
gonna crash.
Paxton, so
Well, yeah, that part we know, but
Helen Hunt maybe.
Helen Hunt maybe, yeah, something like that. If it has a couple of the original cast members, it might do okay. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Actually, I'm kind of thinking about it now. You guys are probably right. It's probably not going to do too well. But we all know, I think Deadpool 3 is probably the only film that has a good chance for Disney this year.
Yeah.
Or at least with the Marvel side of things. So, I mean, unless somebody thinks it's going to crash, I think at this point we all think it's going to probably. You might be the only one.
I think it'll have a good first weekend, but I think it's going to be a bad movie, and I think that ultimately it's not gonna have legs because it's going to be shit, and people are going to talk about how shit it is. That's what I hope I'm wrong. I really do, but I have real bad feeling about this movie.
Yeah,
it's gonna die. Let's be real here. Once again, it's gonna die.
I think it's gonna do very well. unless it has such bad word of mouth after that first weekend, I think it's going to do very, very well.
Agreed.
All right.
I want to be
Again,
wrong.
like you said, unless it gets shot down by some terrible word of mouth, it's Deadpool. I think it is. And Hugh Jackman and it was Wolverine. It's probably gold.
Script, I think you're the only one who really hasn't said anything.
For Deadpool, I think it's going to coast. I don't think it's going to fly. I don't think it's going to fail. I think it's going to coast just because, the Deadpool 2 coasted by comparison. So,
yeah. CC, you were going to say something else?
I was going to say, it doesn't really have a whole lot of competition. And it is Deadpool, unless it's absolutely awful.
That's what I'm thinking. It has to be really bad, or it's going to at least do 500, 600, 700 million easy.
Yeah.
Because you got Hugh Jackman. Borderlands is the video game movie. I have zero reference for this, so I'm just going to say it'll do okay. Clobby?
Ditto. I have know nothing about it. But it's a video game movie, and at the time, and there's not a lot out there, so maybe it'll do all right. But I have no idea.
No
Nick?
comment.
All right, Price?
Deadpool, right?
No,
Nope.
we are
Borderlands.
Wait,
unless you had
so-
something else to add about Deadpool. Yeah, we just quickly went through that one.
oh, but I don't think I ever said anything about it, but I think it's going to do well. But
all right.
Borderlands, I don't really know much about. What does it do, Borderlands?
It's a video game.
Then I have no idea. I'll say flop.
All right, CC, you're the video game man.
Don't underestimate this franchise. It's huge. I don't know if the movie is going to be any good, and that will matter. But if this movie hits, and if it entertains, if it's a good, hilarious time, don't underestimate it making the biggest box office of the summer.
All right, Script.
Yeah, I'm kind of cross between CC and history because video game movies, by and large, perform very poorly. So yeah, I'm probably gonna hedge my bets and say it's gonna flop.
All right, Alien Romulus.
That's
I
a
see
flop.
how they uncleverly did the V at the end there instead of an N to put the 5 on it. So yeah, Script says it's gonna flop. CC, what do you think?
They're making another Alien movie. I wanted to see that Blomkamp one, and then it got shut down.
No, this is what Fede Alvarez is.
It's not a Star Trek movie.
No.
Romulus.
Well, I don't. Yeah, flop.
Would be nice if it was a crossover, maybe. Price.
I think that the last good Alien movie was Aliens. I think ever since then they haven't done anything good, and I'd be really surprised if this changes that trend. So I'm going to go with flop.
Nick?
Huge flop.
None of you guys have any confidence in Alien, huh? Clobby.
Ditto again. Huge floparuski. Big problem.
I'm going to go against the grain on this one with you guys. I think this one's going to do okay simply because people were a little leery about Predator and the newer one, Prey. And then they were like bitchy that they didn't release it in theaters. So I think people will associate that.
Prey.
That's what I'm saying. I think people might.
Prey.
I think people might associate that a little bit with this and take a chance on it. And if it actually is good, and Mr. H, I guess, has been hearing some decent things about it. It depends on how much Ridley Scott jizzed all over it first. So we'll see. I think this one's going to strongly depend on word of mouth, unless CC is right and Borderlands just completely bulldozes everything else.
I just want to hedge that because it has to be good, right? It's the huge boom bust potential there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so in that respect, we'll see. I think it's a wild card. Craven, let's go with. I think Craven's going to perform not quite as well as Venom, but it's going to do better than Madam Web does early in the year. So I'm going to say coast, but with a little bit of a profit. Clobby?
If assuming it actually is released when they say it is this time, like it wasn't last time, I'll say it'll bomb. It's going to be useless. No one's going to give a crap. It'll be Morbius. May not be quite as as oblivious as Madam Web, but it'll be somewhere around there. In between those two, No one's gonna give a crap. I'm tired of Spider-Man villain movies. When is someone gonna learn? No one needs Spider-Man villain movies. Idiocy, and it's just crap. It's gonna bomb.
Nick?
It's gonna bomb. Obviously, it's not gonna be Madam Web numbers, have you said, but it's gonna bomb. We did not need a Craven movie, and I say that as a huge Craven fan.
Yeah, I love
We
Craven,
don't
the
need this
character.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic character, but we did not need this movie at all. No disrespect to Aaron Taylor Johnson, fine actor. We didn't need this.
No.
Price?
Morbius.
There you go.
So that means it'll be Craven time instead of Morgan time.
He's got a
Craven,
Craven.
Craven. Yeah. Mihan already created the hashtag right there.
Thank you, Mihan.
Yeah, CC, what do you think?
I'm looking at this whole series. If Borderlands is awesome, it'll kill Deadpool. But if Alien or Craven ends up being great, that'll help them, either one of them. But it's like, are any of these movies going to be any good? I don't know.
You don't need to pretend Craven has potential. It's okay.
No, I don't think it does. At this point, Marvel is so damaged that even if it is good, it'll struggle.
That's a good point too.
Mm-hmm.
Script?
Oh, Craven's gonna crash.
All right. So here we go, getting into the latter part of the year now. Kicking it off in September with Beetlejuice 2, which wrapped after one day of shooting after the strike.
Mm-hmm.
You think they could have found a way to try and finish that one day before the strike happened, but nope. Because then Tim Burton could have spent, well, he probably was editing it during the strike anyway. But all right, Script Doctor, how do you think Beetlejuice 2 is going to fare? It's going to have majority of the original cast back. You even got Jenna Ortega added to the mix. What do you think?
I think it's gonna coast. As worst case scenario, it's gonna coast. I'd be surprised if it burned, but I'd be really, really shocked if it flew. So I'm gonna stick with coast.
CC?
Modest coast, but Winona Ryder's really hot, so I'm interested.
Price?
Is Alec gonna be in this movie?
No.
Okay, then I think that with Jenna Ortega and the nostalgia element, it's gonna coast. It's gonna make its money back, but maybe even surprisingly make some money.
At least I don't think he's going to be in it.
Michael Keaton, Gina Davis, they gonna be in it?
Not Gina Davis that I know of. I don't think Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are returning, but everybody else pretty much is that's alive.
Right.
Jeffrey Jones would be the only other exception.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be around.
I don't know. I'll have to look at the past thing again.
Yeah.
Where did we leave off here? Was it Nick's or?
Am I next?
Did Price go? I don't remember. Okay, all right, Nick, go ahead.
I think Beetlejuice 2 is actually gonna have a good opening weekend. The movie, there's a long gap, but this movie has been passed on to generations, and kids of those types of generations and the audience it's made for have definitely likened this movie. So I think it's gonna have a good first weekend. I think at best it's gonna get off the ground. At best. Sorry, at worst. I meant to say at worst it's gonna get off the ground. We'll see if it soars. I think time will be the ultimate teller on that.
Klobby?
I agree with Nick there. I think it's got a chance to if it starts out with a nice, decent opening, it could have problems, but I think it's gonna do a little bit better than Coast. I think it's gonna actually do fairly. I think it's gonna do fairly well because again, not everything can tank, and this is kind of something people are nostalgic for. I think and nostalgic about. It's a very popular first film. Seeing it come back like that, I think it's gonna do fairly well. Yeah,
I think that I think this has the potential to be Warner's big hit for the year. This has a stellar cast. The only thing that has me worried is you have Monica Bellucci playing Beetlejuice's wife in it.
You like her? I love Monica.
So I'm kind of worried it's going to be about that. But otherwise, you got Jenna Ortega, who's a big star right now. Again, kind of comparable to Timothy Chalamet, where not forced but naturally happened.
Right.
Again, you got Winona Ryder, Catherine O'Hara. You got Willem Dafoe joining the cast. I think this has a lot of potential. A lot of potential. And you know why I also think that? Because it never fails when I've seen over the past 20 years, where somebody would post some like, oh, Beetlejuice 2 is happening. I'm like, no, it's not.
Nope.
But people get so fucking excited every time it was like, they would think it was coming.
Yep, I can recall that. I know a lot of people who are into this type of movie, and they're gonna see this straight up. There, a lot of them are gonna turn up opening weekend. If they like it, they will.
This is gonna be one I think
fuck out of
that
it.
the men and the women are gonna want to see together. It's gonna be a big date movie.
Yeah. Oh, dude. My girlfriend is gonna make sure we see this opening night.
And if it's not too bad, because I think the original was the original one only PG? I think it was.
I think it is originally only PG because it only has one F-bomb.
It does, and that was at a time when you could get away with it as long as it wasn't sexual.
Yeah.
So yeah, they might get away with this. And I still think this is going to end up being PG-13, but even still, parents are still cool enough with most PG-13. I think this is going to be a family affair. I could be wrong, but I think this might be one of Warner's bigger films of the year.
Could be.
So I didn't mean to drag too much on this one, but just the way it's shaping up and the stuff I've seen come out of it and the buzz that's kind of around it. Script, you may be right, may not do so well, but I think at the end of the day, this might be one of the bigger hits of the year. And I'll be happy if it does, if it's good. Yeah.
Like it's not going to fail. I don't think it's going to fail at all. But yeah.
Plus, look, it has like nothing surrounding it for competition. Transformers 1.
Yeah.
It's Labor Day weekend. It's got Transformers and it's got whatever the movie that we looked at before that I just forgot, which tells you how much
Craven.
Craven. There you go. Yeah, Craven's not going to beat Beetlejuice.
No. Exactly my point. I feel sorry for Craven and Transformers in this instance, basically. And the last two Transformer films have not performed. And unless they I don't see what they can throw into this one here. So we might as well jump to that one now. With Transformers 1, I think this one's going to coast to actually crash. What do you think, Klobby?
Transformers 1? Is this a live action new Michael Bay thingy or something?
Oh, let me look here.
I know nothing about it. I mean, I don't like any of his movies really. So.
It is an animated film.
Oh, okay. Animated Transformers. Well, again, did not know about it, so I don't know. It could do well, could do okay. I mean, Transformers is pretty big, but I really don't have much of it. I can't say I form an opinion on that because I don't know anything about it.
And I just looked this up now. I forgot. This just reminded me here. This is the first time they're not having Peter Cullen do Optimus Prime. It's fucking Chris Hemsworth.
What?
That sounds like
shit.
What did he? Oh, okay.
Thor.
You got me then. I don't know.
I think this is gonna fucking crash now. I take my original thing back. It's gonna crash hard.
Yeah, it's not good.
The kids may like it, but I don't think it's gonna. I think it's gonna do like fucking Mutant Mayhem level.
How did the last Transformers do overseas?
Terrible.
Not so great. Yeah, the last two movies have not performed all that well. Yeah, and we got a late joiner here, Brian. Hi.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, we're dragging it out. Last show of the year here.
Yeah, I just
70s.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Just you were still going, and I had the chance to pop in, so it's good to be here.
All right.
Hello.
Yeah, and Putin's saying something about Buzz Lightyear again. I think now you bring that up. I thought there was something in this movie too about they might have some intersection.
Well, no, they're just replacing the lead, who's still able to do the voice of the original.
Well, not just that,
a Marvel character, Marvel actor.
I also remember though something in the story about it, like a character, like two characters that might be like non-binary, some shit like that. Anyway,
they're robots. They are by default binary.
I know, but anyway, where did we leave off here? Klobby, Nick, did you go, Nick?
Your turn.
To Transformers. Oh man, I think it's gonna bomb. I think they gotta let this franchise sit for 5 years, and they're gonna make 5 years of a long time in Hollywood time. Shut up! It's not long enough. Let this franchise sit for 10 years. Give it a shot again. There's too much stigma of the Michael Bay movies attached to that. It's done for. You're lucky Bumblebee had legs, but you won't let it go. Let it go for 10 years. This is done. It's done. It's dead, Jim. Stop trying to revive a corpse.
Price.
I think that after seeing the previous one, I just don't know why they would continue to make more. And even if it's animated and without Peter Cullen, all that sounds bad to me. I think it's going to flop.
Wow.
Sorry, I was typing. CC.
There's another Transformers movie, and it's animated. Okay. Yeah, sure, whatever. Probably not.
Nobody's excited.
No,
That's right.
No.
Like
No,
even
probably
here,
not.
we're nobody, and we like Transformers, and
Yeah,
nobody here is
yeah.
excited.
Yeah,
Oh,
irony
Beast
is I'm
Wars was
excited.
freaking-
I'm excited about the current Transformers coming out from Image right now. I really enjoy it, but this movie I couldn't give a shit less about.
Yeah. Price. Or did we
Joker?
just leave out? No, we just did you right.
Yes.
CC on Transformers. Did you say yet? Sorry, I
Yeah,
got
so it's
distracted. That's my
Transformers
fault.
movie.
Yeah, you did. My bad. You're cutting yourself off just a little early, CC. Just heads up. Script Doctor, what do you think about Transformers animated one?
I think it's going to burn, crash, fail, buried.
Brian joining us late, but what do you think? Transformers?
I don't think it'll make a big splash. I mean, I've got it on the kind of meh list. Like I'll probably watch it. Not necessarily at the cinema, of course. But I don't think it'll do particularly well, and I'm just worried about the relationship. It's about the relationship between Optimus Prime and Megatron. I wonder what they'll make that relationship.
Optimus Pride.
They'll probably get Optimus Prime. They'll get the Tom Hiddleston to do the voice, so it could be a Thor.
Shh.
Loki
It's
relationship.
Hemsworth doing the
Oh,
voice of
God.
Oh, Lord.
It's is anyone? I don't know. It'll be
I'm
okay,
kidding
but
them, but you know,
yeah, is it a major thing? Nah.
they'll be buddies. You know, they'll be like brothers, or so. We'll find out that they're brothers.
Well, they might go further than
Oh, I'm
that.
sure that's what it'll be. Of course, they'll be brothers.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, let's move on then to Joker 2. Brian, do you think Joker 2 is going to fly, crash, or coast?
Well, I think given the success of the first one, there's got to be some residual carryover from that. So I think it'll probably do pretty well, especially if they keep the budget as low as the first one or reasonably low. If they go overboard and pump a ton of cash into it, then they're going to see vastly diminished returns. I just not sure of the wisdom of making it a musical, of course. So
Yeah.
I'm not a big musical guy, so
Yeah.
it might put a few people off. Possibly.
Like me.
Script.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to
Me.
be Folly of a Deuce, or do you think it's going to fly?
Someone's dropped a deuce.
I think it's going to fly because, well, Lady Gaga is co-writing a lot of the songs, and one thing you can't deny is that people forgot who Taylor Swift was when she came along. So there's a chance that, and she hasn't been doing much on the musical side of things for a few years now. She's been focusing on acting. So I think it's going to contribute to the success of Joker. People really like the first one, especially the international box office. So I think this is going to fly.
Hmm.
CC?
Fly and Oscar nominated.
Hmm.
Folie à Deux is my favorite Fallout Boy album, which also happens to contain a song about Winona Ryder. And this movie has had enough time to cook, and it has an interesting cast. The musical will definitely earn a nomination or two, and it's got a feeling this one will hit. It's got nothing around it either. It's just free to be a big smash hit.
Yeah, I don't
around
think
that
anything
time.
wants to compete with it. At least not yet. I mean, we got to remember at this point, there's a lot of things that are going to be coming that we don't know about yet that are still kind of in the pipeline, or they're going to probably rush into production early in the year. But anyway, yeah. So
The
with
universe
that,
is aligning for this one, I think.
I think you're probably right on that, but I don't want to get ahead of myself here. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Price.
I think that it may not make as much money as the first one, but I think that it's going to make money. Personally, I don't love that they shifted it to a musical, and for me, it's probably going to be a bummer. But I think it's going to do okay.
Nick.
As much as it pains me to admit it, I think it's gonna make a lot of money, be very profitable. I'm one of the few people who cannot stand this movie, But obviously there's an audience for it and people like it, and they're probably respond to the sequel. So hey, if you enjoy the sequel, I guess I'm happy for you.
All right. Clubby. Joker Part 2.
I'm also one of the few that did not care at all for the first one. We do not like it, but I do know it did very well. I don't think this is going to I don't think it's going to match that, but I do think it's going to fly. It sounds like it's different enough from the other one. And as much as I'm doubtful of a musical doing well, I think they do sometimes that they do. And this one, strangely enough, I think it might. I have a bizarre feeling that it will do well and fly, just not quite as big as the first one. And it'll just do it without me because I have no interest. Like I said, did not like the first one. So.
Well, I mean, I went into the first one wanting to hate it pretty much, or at least expecting to hate it, and I didn't. But I think this one has a better chance of being a good film. But I'm with you guys for the most part, thinking it's probably not going to reach the billion like the first one did. And the only reason I think that's going to be is just because of what you guys have been saying. There's a small portion of people that are just going to be completely turned off by any idea, no matter how it's handled, of it being a musical. Now, I'm going to hold my judgment on how it's handled until I at least see a trailer or see the movie itself, because I have, my own theories on how they will handle it. And I think that, the thing with, like, that's the other thing, though. It could possibly go bigger than the first movie because of Lady Gaga.
It might. I actually think it has.
She's an Oscar winner. Script's right.
Yeah.
She's big. I mean, she's one of the few people who could make you forget about Taylor Swift real quick. She's a very unique character. It's not a horrible choice to play a version of Harley that goes quite well with Joaquin's version of Joker.
It does. No, it does make sense why they did it. They want this movie to make more money. They want it to be more profitable. I get why they do it. Once again, it's a bitter pill for me to swallow on that, but I do think it has, at the very minimum, a chance of being more profitable than the first one. I do believe it has the chance.
I'm gonna say so. I'm gonna agree with Klobby that it might only do like 800 to 900 million, but I want to put an asterisk there that it has the potential because it's so late in the year. I think it's going to get Oscar buzz.
Oh,
and I think it's going to get more Oscar buzz than the first film because of Lady Gaga.
And it could bring new people in because of Lady Gaga.
It very well could that too. Yeah.
I'm gonna just say I think it's gonna hit $1 billion. I think it's gonna hit $1 billion. The only way it does it is if the movie just somehow falls on its ass. But I don't see Todd Phillips doing it. He doesn't seem like the type of director who's gonna make something drastically bad. Once again, I
don't know. People didn't like the sequels to The Hangover.
Yeah, those are work for hires, though. That's the other part.
True, but still, I'm just going to say
that Disney's golden age was musicals, and if this film taps into that kind of Rocky Horror or Little Shop of Horrors kind of twisted aspect, which I think it just might, it could capture that discussion as well.
To be honest, you guys, you want to know what I think this movie is going to play into? Since the first movie was Taxi Driver meets King of Comedy, I think this movie is going to be New York meets another Scorsese movie.
I can see that.
Could be,
yeah.
I think that's probably what it's going to be. Just let's hope it's not Bringing Out the Dead.
Cape Fear? Yeah.
Maybe Cape Fear. That even though that's a remake,
it is.
But I mean, I seen the New York thing really kind of stuck out to me though, because he had Boss Logic or whoever it was do that art from the La La Land thing, and they did a New York. They brought it back to Broadway a few years ago, and that's exactly what they did, is try to emulate the La La Land look.
It'd be weird if they did that and Hugo, because that's also another Scorsese film. That's
true. Maybe the Last Temptation of Christ.
Oh yeah,
I can see that working though. See, that's the thing.
It's another
have to run, but
they're using the same color scheme as the Fall Out Boy album as well. Yeah, and I'm getting that vibe, like they're gonna go dark.
Well, think about like the Last Temptation of Christ. You put Joker in the Christ role. You put Lady Gaga's character in the Mary Magdalene role. Mix that with New York.
Where does Harvey Keitel fit in?
Yeah. Or it could be like Mean Streets meets New York, or something like that. We don't know yet. You know, we have to wait and see what comes of it.
You better let
There's some
Clubby go, Tom.
courtroom stuff. I'm trying to think. Was there a courtroom movie that Scorsese ever really did?
No, but maybe Echoes of the Departed, because that's got double
True.
identities and listen, there's lots of Scorsese films to pick from that could fit into this mix here.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it's got going for it on that potential
Yeah,
side.
I think you guys are right. So this is going to be, I think this is going to be a big film of the year.
I'll
But
see
we're
you
going to be
guys
losing.
later. I got to run real quick.
I was gonna say, Klobby's got to run.
thanks
Before
for
you
having
go,
me, buddy.
head out. We got one more comic book movie, Venom 3. What do you think it's going to do?
Another Spider-Man villain movie. I think it's going to be as big as the other ones, which means not at all. It's going to blow out and bomb. So there you go.
Well, the first one did very well, but yeah. All right. Well,
Okay,
take
the
care,
second one
Klobby.
then.
Check out, second
Thanks
one.
a
There you
lot,
go. Check out Klobby's channel.
Thank
You
you,
got
brother.
something going on here in a little bit, I think. So head
Yeah, I
on
got
over
the
there.
clubhouse there. But thanks, man.
All
Guys,
right.
See you,
nice
buddy.
to see, good seeing you
Hey,
all.
Clubby.
Happy New Year to you all.
Yes,
Happy
Happy
New
New
Year.
Year.
My friends.
Happy New Year.
Later.
Take care, Klobby. All right. So Venom 3, Nick, what do you think it's going to do?
I think it's gonna do well, especially overseas. That crowd seems to really like these movies, even though the stateside numbers aren't as good. I personally think that the movies are I'd say mediocre to average at best. They're like a 2001, 2002 comic book movie type of movie. I think it's gonna be saved by the overseas market.
All right. Price?
It'll probably be around the same as the second one. Whatever Venom 2 made, it'll probably make something along those lines.
Fair enough. CC?
What Price said.
Script?
Yeah, I think it's going to coast.
Brian?
I think it'll do okay. I don't think the budgets are the biggest in the world on these. I mean, I'm probably one of the few that actually quite enjoyed the first two.
No, it's good if you enjoyed it.
I quite enjoyed them. The one thing about this is how well will they be able to convince people that Spider-Man's in it?
Well, Venom,
So-
to be fair, is a character that stood well on his own 2 feet, so they don't need to
Yeah.
really sell Spider-Man that much. Even though I hate that they're doing without Spider-Man. Trust me when I say I hate it.
Yeah,
But he does stand on his own 2 feet.
but how many rumors will they get to circulate that there is going to be Spider-Man in it?
I don't.
Might-
Spider-Man won't be in it. He should, but he won't.
It'll do okay, I think. Not huge, but okay.
Yeah, I think this is one that could do okay, but I think the second film was so mid. Like a lot of people didn't like it, and most people thought it was mid at best. So I wonder if this one's going to suffer a bit. But yeah, that being said, I think it's going to coast at best. And Gladiator 2, oh fuck Lord. Unless
Geez.
this movie has an amazing fucking trailer and they have some sort of gimmick that we can't think of going into this thing that isn't just the obvious shit, I think this is going to be a misstep big time. I think it's going to crash. What do you think, Nick?
For Gladiator 2,
Gladiator
I think
2.
it's a big misstep. I think it's going to crash and burn.
Price?
Same. I think it's going to crash and burn.
CC?
We should write these down so that way we can
We
got 'em
revisit
on
it a year
video.
later. Okay,
Tom's recording.
Kat, hold us to this.
This movie's been in development for 20 years.
You're right.
And I really want it to be good. And I can't say that it won't after 20 years.
That was one of the original ideas for Gladiator 2.
You're not wrong. It was like Maximus comes back from heaven, but it's like modern day or some
Modern
shit,
day
right?
New York,
Scrib?
yeah.
It's like when they fucking did that with Hercules and shit.
There's a chance.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what they're going with. I think this is supposed to be his son, is what it's supposed to be about.
They
So
can't
yeah,
bring back Russell Crowe. He'll never be able to get in shape
No.
and quickly enough to do that film.
Part of
no,
them might get in
Oh,
shape,
man.
but some of the other parts won't be in shape.
No.
Dad
So big
bod
now.
Crow.
the shape that he's in now is round.
It's
So
rhomboid. He's more rhomboid these days. Yeah.
He's a hedonist man, not gladiator.
yeah. So where did we leave off here? CC, did you say your piece yet?
I hope it's good.
Did we skip over Price? I think we skipped over Price.
The making of Gladiator 2 might be the masterpiece.
Okay, that's a good point. Price, sorry, I didn't mean to skip over there, buddy. What do you think?
No, I said it would crash and burn. You didn't skip over me.
Oh, I didn't? Okay, sorry about that. Script, what do you think?
I hope this crashes just for the entertainment value.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah. Thumbs down, man. Or
oh Lord. Brian, what do you think?
All I can say is, Tom, for you, the time for honoring yourself will soon be over.
Is this going to be a musical too?
So is it going to be a musical too? I think the thing is,
Maybe
Ridley
better off
Scott's
doing Gladiator the musical than Gladiator 2.
Ridley Scott's track record has not been great in the last few years, and
Yeah.
and it's just, I mean, before, if you'd asked me before Napoleon, I would have said there's a pretty good chance this is going to be a big movie, and it may still be, but the fact that it's the same writer, and I liked the writer Scarpa before Napoleon. I don't think Napoleon was his best work. So I was quite excited about it, but now it's up in the air, because is it going to be the worst thing it could be is dull? I mean, it
could be crazy as hell. You're right.
Crazy dull, which is like ponderous and dull is what I fear.
I'm hoping it's like MST3K fucking level, but yeah.
I mean, if it's got loads of action and drama like the first one, great. If it's some kind of dull, ponderous twisting, like some of Ridley's other work recently, then yeah. But I mean, I don't know what the budget is, but it will probably make
Ridley
money.
Scott, probably a lot.
It will make, yeah, but I think it will probably globally make money. Will it make a ton of money? Maybe not. But
This
I'm
to me
interested
feels
see a
like it should be
trailer.
straight to fucking video. That's the problem. It's
Yeah,
like-
but I mean, isn't it Denzel? I mean,
he's just
Denzel?
but he's playing a part. Like, I mean, he's not the main.
No.
That's the thing. Like, Script's point is, like, the big draw of the first original film was Russell Crowe at his peak, right? Like, women were fawning over him, men wanted to be him. Gladiator was just that badass movie. It was like the 300 of the time, even more so. Even got nominated for Oscars and shit. You had Weasley, Joaquin Phoenix in it. I didn't even care for I thought it was all right. I was like, yeah, it's probably in the middle ground of his films, but I wouldn't say it's like groundbreaking. I was surprised how many people like it, but
It's
yeah,
a pretty powerful movie when you
it
look at
is.
it.
But I found it kind of pretentious. I'll be honest.
Well, this one could because that's what Ridley Scott does now a lot. It's pretentious. So
Yeah. Well, and that's why I've said he's a very
so
overrated director, and I'm not made that a
many
secret.
years ago, I would have been very excited for this. Present day, I'm very cautious about it. But
Yeah.
hey, if there's a great trailer, it might bring some people in, and
I
I
mean,
think it could do quite well globally.
this is my problem with him. His best movie in the last 2 decades, he still has to have a pointless fucking director's cut of.
Hmm.
The Martian.
So like Zack Snyder, in other words.
Now, if Tony
Yeah.
Tony Scott could be resurrected to direct it,
Oh,
that would be
fuck.
good.
He underappreciated director. I still say it.
Oh,
Anyway,
Tony
let's
was
keep
great.
moving. We are almost done here. We're at the end of the line here. War of Rohirrim. This is the Warner Brothers animated tied into the original Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings films. This has some potential, but I want to see a trailer first. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna hold off. What do you guys think, Brian? You go first. Start with you and then Script.
I know very little about this, and animation. I mean, animation of things like this. Is there capacity for huge money to be made? Is it going to be a big hit because it's animated? That's not to say we haven't had huge animated hits, but this kind of movie, is it going to have that capacity to bring people in that are maybe not necessarily into that? I hope it's good, and I would certainly. I think the director is somebody I would think I would trust, the Japanese director. So I have no idea about whether or not this will be a big hit. I cannot tell. I'm quite interested in it though. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I can see this being a big wild card. That's why I didn't really want to jump
It's a
on it.
very wild card, yeah.
Script.
Lord of the Rings fans are starved for Lord of the Rings content, given what has been counter programming to it recently.
I'm
This is going
thinking.
to hit hard, and people are going to love it.
I was wondering that. I'm not so about the hitting hard part, but I was kind of thinking that. I'm like, after
The
after
first
the
its
Amazon
first
series,
weekend
yeah.
is going to be soft until Lord of the Rings fans finally say this is what Lord of the Rings actually is, not
Yeah.
that crap on Amazon, and then you're going to see that nice little peak.
That's the
We have a
point, yeah,
potential to
Script is
swing
right.
this movie. This is a thing though. If the trailer's good and you get guys like Gary of Nerdrotic and a few others going out there
Yep.
saying this is the Lord of the Rings we want, I think the opening weekend for this could be kind of
Yeah.
surprising.
If it's faithful, yes, Script is right.
I mean, they have a pretty big reach, and if you get enough of them together, you get Critical Drinker and a few other guys talking about this. I think it could.
Yeah, and the fact the director is Japanese and he's got a good track record, I think, is a good sign.
Well,
That's an understatement.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
Well,
with the script's confidence in this film, actually. So, CC, what do you think?
I'm a fan. Kenji Kamiyama
Yes.
is kind of brilliant. I love his work. And while I agree with you that it might have a soft opening weekend because of the situation and all that, it's animated and people maybe aren't, it maybe doesn't have that word of mouth. This has the potential to be the best movie of the year. It really, really does. And I hope it is as good as I think it could be with who's behind it. And it could have that staying power that we watch for decades to come for the rest of our lives. I really hope I hope it's that good. It has that potential.
Great Scottish actor Brian Cox playing a lead voice in it. So,
Print or Price, what do you think?
I think that as long as the marketing doesn't start doing all this weird Amazon Rings of Power stuff, and it looks like it's staying faithful to the source material, I think it's going to do surprisingly well.
Nick?
Sorry, I actually boomered it. I admitted to boomering. He didn't even see me. I think it has potential to do well. I think at the very minimum, it's going to get conversation and interest going, and it has potential to soar.
Yeah, this is why I didn't want to jump on it right away. I don't know how. I can't put a number on it box office wise. Because I don't even know what the budget is going to be. They've been working on it for some time. I feel like this movie's going to do everything it can to tie into the original films because they know that's what they got going for them, and that's kind of the FU that it was to begin with. And that's probably why I think it might just be kind of fun and something that the fans enjoy as kind of a breath of fresh air. I think Script's right after what they've gotten with Rings of Power and everything. I think it might do well. The one I'm not so sure about is The Karate Kid with Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan. This comes out the same weekend.
That's not smart. That is not smart at
This
all.
one still has me scratching my fucking head. And I don't understand why they did this movie. So I'm going to say this is going to coast at best and might even crash hard. Nick?
Ooh, I think it's. Oh, I think it's not going to do well. That's it. I'll just leave it at that. It's
Gotcha.
not going to do well.
Price?
I think that it'll maybe break even.
Wow. Well, it doesn't have to probably do much to break even. That's probably the only thing it's got going for it.
So maybe that's why they're making it. There's some kind of legal reason they need to keep the brand going. There's some reason why they're making this movie, and also to tie the universe, the other movie, make it part of the franchise. There's I feel, you know how sometimes there's some kind of reason behind closed doors.
The weird thing is, Price, you're right. I get what you're saying, but in this instance, as far as I know, there is no legal reason that this has to be done. Will Smith and his company is a producer on Cobra Kai. They own a part of the franchise. There's nothing that says they have to make this movie, as far as I know. That show pretty much solidified their copyright, I would think, script, right? Like, being that it's active and they're producing it.
It is, and I think that I have not heard on when season 6 of Cobra Kai is coming out. I don't think it's coming out in 2024. I think
they are shooting it though.
I think it's going to be a January 2025, which means that the anticipation of that season coming out in January 2025, because this winter month, this is the time frame that Cobra Kai usually drops for people to watch and binge. I think they're going to somehow have the Karate Kid movie not physically connected to season 6, but be that type of setup for season. I think season 6 is already planned. They know exactly what they're doing, but I think Sony is going to try and pair this together so that the people excited for Cobra Kai are going to show up for the Karate Kid, which I hate that title now because we now have 3 Karate Kid movies out of 5 Karate Kid movies titled Karate Kid.
I think they'll change the title, but this is gonna be confusing.
And it has no connection to Cobra Kai, does it?
We don't know.
No.
We don't know.
That's
I do
the
know
weird
that
thing.
whatever happens in that movie is not going to affect what they want to do in Cobra Kai,
Yeah,
and vice versa.
Supposedly, yeah. But yeah, CC, what do you think?
I think Sonic 3 crushes Karate Kid and Mufasa.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, Karate Kid has a weekend, but yeah, War of Rohirrim could just roll over top of it. You got a good point.
I mean,
And then
I'll take the War of Rohirrim. I'll take the War of Rohirrim to be the best. But I think, like, of the next 3, I think Sonic 3 just takes people's ticket money.
Yeah, I mean, not to jump too far ahead, but I mean, Script, you kind of already said your piece on Karate Kid and Brian a little bit. Yeah. So let's go right ahead to Sonic. Brian, what do you think?
Oh, this will be a huge hit. One of the biggest hits of the year, possibly even the biggest, and rightly so, I think. The first 2 were fantastic. It's a guaranteed family hit as well, which has been missing this year. Not many things for family. There are not many things that have been safe to take families to. I think this one will be huge. And that's all.
All right.
All I got to say about that.
Huge. Script, yeah, what's your thoughts on that?
Sonic is going to kill it for that weekend. I think it's going to do really well. The first 2 movies did better than ever expected by Sega and Paramount, and I think Sonic 3 stands to deliver the same return.
CC, video game man.
I mean, I jumped ahead, but for that very reason, Karate Kid's forgotten the moment this movie comes out.
Yeah,
Sonic 3. We're moving into the age of video game movies.
You may have a point there. Price?
I think it's going to make a ton of money. Wait, we're talking about Sonic 3 still, right?
Oh, we are.
Yeah. I think it's because if you're talking about Mufasa, then I have a different theory about that.
I think we all have a good theory on where Mufasa.
No, Sonic 3, I think, is going to make a lot of money. I can't imagine why it wouldn't.
All right. Nick, I mean, you kind of said a little bit already, but go ahead and finish
I
off.
did. I'll finish for you. Sonic 3 is gonna be huge. I like personally 1 and 2. My children did as well, and my oldest. This is one of the first movies I took her to see at the theater. So we've seen 1 and 2 together. We got to go for the hat trick with 3, and she loves Shadow 2. She actually gagaed at the credits. To see your own kid gush over an after credit scene for a cool obscure character is cool because it lets you know they are invested in the lore of something the same way we were when we were their age. So I'm excited for it. My kids will be excited for it. This is gonna be a freaking Sonic 3, man. It's gonna be off to the races with this one. Good luck, other movies catching up to this guy. Got to go fast.
All right. I'm kind of with you guys. I think Sonic 3 has potential. They moved it into December for good reason. That's going to be a season of Sonic, I think. School. Yeah, this was a good move on Paramount. This is going to be very good for Paramount, and I think it's going to trounce all over everything else, if that's even a word. Tromp on everything else. Sorry.
Trample.
You've just created a word between tromp and trounce. You've just created.
I think that's what I was trounce is what I was trying to say.
You've trounced.
Thank you, Brian. But yeah, like Mufasa, I think we all can agree this movie's gonna do shit. It's gonna get killed by Sonic. It has zero fucking chance. Even though the first one did $1 billion, this is a movie nobody fucking asked for, and Disney has zero fucking fans right now. So I think you guys are 100% correct. I think that's pretty much a good way to end this here is the whole Sonic will dominate the end of the year probably. But on that note, real quick, let's go through which movie you guys are looking forward to the most this year. Nick.
Can you scroll up the list a little bit? I gotta really sit on this.
Yeah, I'll even zoom out a little bit here.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, thank you, Tom. Because there's ones I'm going to see. Because they're, I guess you could say.
Well, if you need a minute, we can go ahead to Price if you want to think about it.
Yeah, go ahead and give it to Price.
All right, you got one, Price?
It's really tough to choose one. I mean, if Disney wasn't so annoying, the Deadpool movie would have interested me, but I'm kind of wary about it. And Ghostbusters is a movie that I'd be interested in, but I'm wary about that one. And Beetlejuice 2 is, I feel the same way. So I guess those were movies that would have interested me, but I don't know how to feel about them, if that makes any sense.
Fair enough. CC?
The War of the Rohirrim.
Wow. Script?
Argyle, Ghostbusters, War of Rohirrim, Joker are the ones I'm interested in seeing this year. Easy.
All right. You threw 4 out there real quick.
Beetlejuice 2. Sorry, I forgot about
Beetlejuice 2. Brian?
Dune Part 2 for me.
Dune.
Lord of Dune. Dune.
From a book.
Dune Part 2. Oh, you Sassenachs. That's the big one for me. I mean, that would have been this year if things had been different, of course. But I am looking forward to, it's not a movie, but Shogun, the new adaptation of Shogun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited for that. I'm praying they won't frack it up. But that would be the other thing. At this time, I'm excited for. And the next installment in the Korean Along with the Gods franchise. Which,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nick, did you think of one yet or two?
Yes, I did. Beetlejuice and Sonic.
All
And
right.
and Argyle. Those three. There you go.
All
You
right.
got a hat trick.
I'm not a fan of sweaters, so yeah, I'm with Brian. Dune is probably the one that I think is going to be the one that I like the most this next year, most likely. Ghostbusters, I'm looking forward to, but I'm leery. Bad Boys 4, potential, but fucking Will Smith, dude, motherfucker. But speaking of fours, I Beverly Hills Cop 4, I'm looking. I hate to say I'm looking forward to it because I want to see it, but I don't know if it's going to be any good or not. And I know most of the movie already, so I'm still kind of like on it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with this. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for sticking in there this whole fucking time. This is one of the longest shows we've done in a while, but it's fitting because it's our last show of the year. So I just want to thank everybody for all the help they've given me on the panel and all those who've already left, like Scribe and Clobby and Six and everybody who's always helping us out and all the other guys who show up from time to time. Thank you so much. But of course, CC, Script, Brian, Price, Nick for being here tonight. Thank you so much for all the stuff you guys do for me all year round. It's very appreciated. And hopefully you have a very happy and productive new year.
Happy New Year.
So real quickly, let's go around the board because this is going to send you over to TNT. CC, what you got going on?
Got karaoke tomorrow night and Loki's late show.
All right, Script.
I got this.
Script on Saturdays. That's right.
Ooh.
So that's
Nice.
coming in the new year. So be on the lookout for that.
Cool.
Yeah.
70s rock fan. What you got?
I got chills. They're multiplying.
And you're losing control?
I know, losing control. Saturday night, Brahma Bull and I SAT will be back with. We had a break last week, but we'll be back with Bourbon and Boarding for those who are into hockey. Late Saturday night on his and my channels, multicast, and other than that, just other people's stuff. Really, no. Don't have any of my own shows planned right now, but a full slate of shows will be coming on my channel in January. Some exciting stuff.
Interesting. Price, what you got going on?
Well, right now, right after this, I'm doing kind of an impromptu. We're discussing movies that we liked about in 2023. Script, I think, is going to be there too. Hopefully,
Yep.
on my live channel, which is my second channel.
Oh, okay, cool. So I think you're a mod, so if you want to share that link in the chat, if not, I'm sure one of the mods can hopefully grab that for you. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. I didn't even know you had a secondary channel. I'll have to check that out.
On Rumble, it's the main one. On Rumble, I only have one, but on YouTube, I have two because the algorithm sometimes is weird.
Yeah, I didn't know you had a second channel on YouTube. I'll have to have to subscribe to that one too. All right, cool. Nick, what you got going on?
Comic Shop Talk tomorrow night. We're talking Chuck Dixon, Joe Bennett's Alpha Core, spoilers and all. And I posted a review earlier today for the new G.I. Joe comic titled Duke, which is the first issue of a miniseries. Check that out. Toxic Tuesday next week, we'll be talking First Blood with X-Ray Girl. And I'll also, to close out the year, have my most underrated metal albums of the 2010s, top 5 with a few honorable mentions tomorrow morning. So a lot's going to come my way. So, Tom, it's been a pleasure and then some doing MEAD with you. And thank you. I know you're thinking yesterday, pressure, but dude, thank you for all the time you give us to all of our channels. Like, I feel like a lot of us really wouldn't be where we are without you, dude. Cheers to you and Andre, the Midnight's Edge family. It's such a good crowd to be a part of, and love this chat. Love seeing the engagement. It's one of the best times I have, Tuesdays and Thursday nights. And I look forward to it each and every show. I never get bored.
And so say we all.
I agree with him.
It. Well, thank you. I appreciate
and
it.
Happy New Year. And Happy New Year, guys. Seriously.
And on that note, yeah. Doug 1985 predicts Gladiator 2 will make 5 billion pennies. That's a lot of pennies. And then Lady Luna, that's a new one. Thank you for the $2. Says 2024 will the year of the remake, prequel, and sequels.
Yeah.
Well, at least from that list, anyway. We'll have to see what we get for original fare. Oh, and then at the last moment, Jason Webster sends an enjoy New Year's Eve celebrations, everyone. Well, happy New Year's to you guys. Thank you so much for all the support throughout the year. We appreciate it here at the channel. I can speak for Andre, of course, as well when I say that. So thank you. And I think I can even speak for Jay.
Also,
somebody has to.
Really quickly, chat, go hang out with Comics Division on Thursday Night Throwdown. I'm going to go over there in a few minutes, and I hope some of these dudes come with me.
I will be there shortly. See you there. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Take care of yourselves and have a happy New Year. Good night. Bye.
Good night.
Goodbye.